All right, good morning, everybody. We've made it to the last day of March.
We have. We've survived. We've conquered in some ways, if you will.
No, I don't want March to end.
Oh, you don't want March?
No.
You don't want March to end?
One of the best sports months. We have banger back to March and April sports months.
For me, it's more of a. It's not that I don't want March to end, but it's almost as if I'm happy it happened. You know, I'm happy for the journey. I've looked back. I've enjoyed my March. I've soaked in the March. I feel like I've taken advantage of it.
What was the highlight of your March?
I would say the Thursday, the NCAA tournament, coming back home from work and just being able to sit down in a very nice couch and just watch basketball all day, and then be able to wake up and talk about it the very next morning. That was my highlight of March. That and ordering the taste of the Masters. When I pressed checkout and I paid for that thing, I felt a sense of pride I've never felt before.
Now, have you received it yet?
No.
I'm excited for
we
you.
get it on the Wednesday before the Masters. So we get it right before, and then we'll set it up on the Thursday, and we'll get going, baby. I mean, it was my first real prideful big boy purchase. Like the first time where I'm like,
not furniture?
couch. No, well, I needed that stuff. This was the first time where I'm like, hey, I got disposable income, and this is awesome, and I want it. So I'm going to get it. And I got it. And I'm going to have pimento cheese and barbecue and cups for a very, very long time. A lot of cups.
It's a great package.
It is.
Last year was
awesome.
the first year that we ordered it, and then we talked about it on air.
I'll bring in a couple.
It's impressive.
I'll bring in a couple of things to show and tell for the show.
Yeah, I got it on the way to the house. Mine will be here Monday.
Oh,
ironically, a friend of mine will be at one of the practice rounds on Monday. Screw him.
lucky son of a gun.
He knows somebody that won the lottery. I always save those emails for that one day where I'm going to get that email that says, "Here you go. Would you like Sunday passes?"
Oh my God. What would you do? You'd run around Omaha naked if that happened? I mean, that would be.
Whoa.
That would.
I mean,
that's
first thing
what
I'd do would be
that's
happy.
rare.
Maybe celebrate.
rare.
Yeah, I don't think that's the. You know what? I
Maybe
don't
fist
think
pump.
anybody wants to see me celebrate like that.
Maybe a text
Do
message
people
to a
celebrate
friend.
like that
Multiple people did when the Cubs won the World Series.
in Omaha?
Oh, not in Omaha.
I just know that I got absolutely just bombed and smoked so many cigars and did not the next morning coming in here hadn't slept.
But you
I
were
was
still here.
so hungover. I wasn't drunk, but I was hungover.
But you performed.
Yeah,
You stepped up to the
he
plate.
still showed up.
I have no idea what happened on that show, other than I got Eileen's cookies, and I celebrated the Cubs with a co-host who was not super happy that the Cubs won the World Series.
Was it just 4 hours of you just singing "Go Cubs Go"?
It was close.
Yeah,
It was close.
that's
I don't think if I got the special email that some of you get, and you don't need to tell everybody you got it.
I need to rub it in.
I would be very happy, but nakedness would not be the first thing that came to mind.
Sure.
Like if there are other things that I would celebrate with some nakedness, but going to the Masters, no, because you can't be naked at the Masters.
You got to be very nicely dressed. You got to be very, very well put together. Very, very proper, if you will, when you're at Augusta.
But here's the thing about the last day of March and the great sports month that it is. So we are on a 5-week bender. So you had the 2 weekends of March Madness. Now you have the Final Four this weekend in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
Back, Jimmy, at the Alamo Dome.
Yeah.
The aging Alamo Dome that is hosting the Final Four for the 5th time.
I'm waiting for my ticket. Somebody bring me home. I was at the first one. I thought for the 5th one, you get all the people who were at the first one to come back.
It's the 5-timers club.
Not a fan of basketball in dome stadiums, but that's never going to change. We're never going back to Kemper Arena for Danny and the Miracles.
Which would be tough now because it is much smaller.
But we have Final Four this weekend. Then the next weekend, of course, is the Masters. And speaking of the Masters, the weather looks really nice.
Good.
Not to Al Roker jinx it.
Yeah.
But the weather looks very, very nice in Augusta.
Good.
And then the weekend after, and this was one of the smart moves by WWE, is they moved WrestleMania off of the Final Four or Masters weekend. So we're in a 5-week stretch. We got a little baseball in there. We got the Crown. Did I say that? Yes. We have.
That's still happening. How about that?
NFL, and then the NFL draft happens
right after
the next week.
Well, not even so.
March and April is the months.
WrestleMania will end on Sunday. The draft is on Thursday. It's just a 4-day break until your next very big thing.
I'm excited for your teams.
Todd McShay and Mel Kiper will probably have a segment during WrestleMania where they break down their top 10. You know?
Or they break down each other. Isn't there a little rift between Mel Kiper and Todd McShay?
It's more so they're lovable enemies. Like Todd is like, I'm made to do this forever with Mel. Mel and I are made to fight forever. We're made to argue with one another.
Sounds like the Cold War.
Mel Kiper is one of the more fascinating people I've ever met in my life. Man seriously does not own a cell phone. He has crazy. A landline at his house in Baltimore. His wife takes care of most everything. He just recently has gotten more involved in being on a computer. Like, he is a salt of the earth. Like, I'm not going to let technology run my life.
Sure.
Even though I'm in a business where people want my content.
Mel Kiper at Netscape.net.
He's like the old man who's like, they're not going to get me. And they're like, Mel, who's they? And he's like, they're not going to get me. Mel, there's no one out there. They're not going to get me. That's Mel Kiper.
And he's hung around. Like, in that industry.
He's been great.
In that industry where there are so many people that do mock drafts. Like, I saw somebody yesterday has mock 17.0.
Jeez.
So they must start like in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
But he was one of the OGs, if not the OG. And as other draft experts have come along, Mel Kiper has hung around.
I think with Mel,
that's pretty impressive.
Mel hasn't hung around though because he's always right, or his top 10s are always correct, or his mock drafts are like spot on. He's hung around because he's got such a great personality and he's so passionate about it, and he's so just entertaining about how like he breaks down these prospects. And it's like the thing about Mel Kiper though that I absolutely love is that he will plant a flag on a prospect, that prospect could be bad and could be terrible, and he will never not unplant the flag. He will continue to be like, no, this guy's got it. This guy's incredible. You guys are full of it. I think
he loves him some Ty Robinson.
He does. It's good.
If you're tuning into ESPN on day 2, you're going to get a lot of Nebraska and Ty Robinson love from Mel Kiper. I think of all the draft experts out there, and now you're starting to see Ty sneak back into the second round.
Yeah.
He's the one that from day one has been carrying the banner for Ty Robinson.
Last mock draft that I looked at, Ty was going 56 to the Carolina Panthers, which would be kind of funny if he got drafted by Carolina. But on top of that,
some pants
he was unfortunately, though, in Field Yates' last top 50 prospects. He did not make it. And then on top of that, he wasn't even in the honorable mentions. So we're still kind of teetering on the late round 2, early round 3. Last time I saw Fedoni and Tommy Hill both getting drafted as well. Mock draft, I think Fedoni was around 5 and Hill was around 6. No Nair Robinson. So should be an interesting 3 days for the draft for the Huskers. I mean, it'll, and like we talked about before, the importance of some of those guys getting drafted just for the trajectory of the program.
All right, the Final Four is set. Have you ever tasted chalk before?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, 17 years ago.
In San Antonio.
Well, congratulations to you.
Yes.
Ironically, where was it in 2008?
San Antonio.
Where is it this year?
San Antonio.
Here's the thing.
Where am I?
I look
Omaha.
at 2008. Like, you could pick a winner. And this year where, there is chalk on the Riverwalk. And congratulations,
also
by the way.
Diseases.
They cleaned it up. I miss San Antonio.
Is it still
I
dirty?
do too.
I liked it.
It's supposed to be dirty. It's character.
I went on a
seasoning.
boat ride. I went on a boat ride in the river. It was nice. It was kind of cool. There was that one building that was shaped like a boat that looked like it was going into the Riverwalk. I mean, the water was a little dirty for how historic I was told and how beautiful it is.
It's a drainage ditch.
Oh, come on. Don't disrespect your city like that.
No, it's literally a drainage ditch. It is a flood control thing that was put into place after a major flood in the 1920s. Oh. It created the Riverwalk because there used to be the river, but it would flood, which would lead to deaths, which are, morbid. They don't like that. They want life. So they ended up forming this thing, called it the Riverwalk, and now they're there.
Checks out on the show today.
Yeah, checks out.
So now people live, and they celebrate, and they drink.
Now, I miss San Antonio from the standpoint that when the Big 12 championship was down there, the Alamo Bowl, Nebraska was more of a regular participant in the city of San Antonio.
Very much loved by San Antonio.
Loved all my times at San Antonio. Now, the Alamo Dome is a little bit, but it's big enough, and they love San Antonio. Like San Antonio, Indianapolis, New Orleans are all in the rotation of Final Fours. Las Vegas is going to jump in, but they love San Antonio because of the space and,
if you
the
like
warm
golf,
weather.
we got you.
Yes. And by the way, the PGA stop is there this week as well. But chalk on the Riverwalk, I love San Antonio. I had a lot of great times down in San Antonio.
Same.
So the Final Four is going back there. But unlike 2008, where I thought there was maybe a case, and that was a great tournament. I mean, there were some great players. But you could kind of pick maybe one or two that were going to win it. This year, you could make a case that all 4 teams could win the national championship in men's basketball.
It is so.
We're not keeping score. Everybody wins.
All 4 of these teams.
Not true.
That's what kids
are
doing.
That's not true.
Duke, Houston, Auburn.
Not true.
Duke, Houston, Auburn, Florida. These 4 teams, I didn't hear what you guys were talking about. I was
participation ribbons. Everybody wins now. They turn off the scoreboard. Yeah, kids.
It's incredible. It's a stack field. I mean, it's not just chalk. It's not just chalk like, oh, these are the 4 best teams of the season. These are like 4 of the best teams ever. Like, period, end of story. If you look at KenPom, these 4 teams are 4 of the 6 highest rated KenPom teams of all time. Okay? It's not as if this is like, oh, this was a good year and the best teams just ended up making it. No. This is a historically incredible top of the NCAA this year. And all 4 of these teams, and some of them had to go through gauntlets, made their way to the Final Four. I mean, I definitely have a ranking of like 1, 2, 3, 4, but if it, like you said, any 4 of these teams wins, I would not be
Everyone was telling me
whatsoever.
how bad the tournament was all weekend. You're telling me it's going to be a great Final Four. Imagine
let's just remember, Cinderellas don't win titles.
Exactly.
Okay.
No.
We had a year where the cream rose to the top and we can't celebrate. I don't think we celebrate winning enough. We want to celebrate mediocrity. Hell, how about celebrating winning? Because you're going to go into your office today, and here's the thing. You know how on Selection Sunday, like the analysts, they rolled through the bracket and they went chalk, and we went, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Well, they can do a victory lap today. But here's the thing. When you show up at your office today and you're maybe in an office pool, which we didn't have around here, did we?
No,
we didn't know. We haven't done one of those in a long time.
Should we do a Masters pool? That'd be fun. I could put that together.
I don't think you get a lot of participation in the building.
Yeah. It's a damn shame.
They're like,
we're all pretty low.
Yeah. But you're in a pool, I'm in a pool.
We're all in pools.
You're going to walk into your office today, and that person that you scoffed at that went all chalk is going to be like in the 96th percentile of the ESPN bracket, or that one person in your office that did go all chalk, and all they did is they went the higher seeded numbers, like the lower seeded numbers, like they went 1 across the board.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are like smiling today, and they're walking around. They're going to stop by your cubicle and go,
I know ball.
Sup. So congratulations to you. You had your magical year where the favorites went, 51-13?
Yeah.
I think straight up.
That's crazy.
They also got the Yankees and Dodgers in the World Series.
You know exactly where I'm going with this, though. Though, that those people who have the chalk, who picked 1-1-1 for the Final Four, are the most insufferable people for sure, because they aren't Jan from accounting who just kind of closed her eyes and, filled it out, or they're not, Dave who hasn't watched one college basketball game all year, who picks certain teams because of mascots. The people who have the Final Four correct are the people who've actually watched college basketball this year and who have probably been like, oh, it's top heavy, I'm going to go 1-1-1, I'm going to go absolutely chalk. And they're acting as if they're experts. They're like, yeah, look at me. Like, I've been watching all year. Do you remember when I told you about Tennessee in November when they defeated Illinois? I told you they were pretty good, right? Like, those are the people who are winning the pools this year. The people who, for the first time ever, the people who actually watch college basketball this year are the ones who are probably winning the NCAA tournament pools, which is probably the worst case scenario.
Or I'm winning my pool because I didn't even overthink it. The best teams in college basketball this year were the best teams, and there was a lot of separation.
Yes.
And I know, like, if you're asking somebody in Durham, or you're asking somebody in Gainesville or Houston or in Auburn, Alabama, by the way, that's now on my bucket list. I need to go to Toomer's Corner. When they have a big victory at Auburn and they paper up Toomer's Corner, I need to go see that. They were showing video on SportsCenter last night.
Especially with toilet paper
friggin' cool.
Going up.
I mean, look at, they lost their mind when somebody tried to poison the tree. But that looks really, really cool. But if you're asking anybody in those 4 places, and by the way, the women's tournament is about to be chalk as well.
Sure.
With 2 more slots to be filled today, they'll say in those communities, oh, this is one of the greatest tournaments ever. Has it been a fun tournament is the question to ask. Instead of going, well, we have no Cinderellas. Yes.
That's a good question. Did you have fun?
Have you had fun? Because I'm telling you, this weekend at the Alamo Dome
is going to be incredible.
I think this weekend's
going to have fun. I had a lot of fun in San Antonio. I stole so much stuff in San Antonio from restaurants. Like, there was a place on the Riverwalk. What is the thing they give you? Like, it was cold because this was for the Alamo Bowl.
Oh,
it was
yes,
not the parka. But you put it
a
over your head. It's like a like it would be like if I was on Tombstone, I'd be walking
a Snuggie.
No, it was not a Snuggie. I'll give you a Snuggie to wear at a restaurant. But people are sitting by outdoors.
Yeah.
What is that called?
I don't know what it's called.
Okay,
but we'll call it a Mexican Snuggie.
I walked away with it. I didn't know you had to give it back.
It's pretty.
Did it run you down? We were like, Mr. Sharp, Mr. Sharp.
No. So I've always had a great time in San Antonio. People are going to enjoy the tournament this weekend. So the Duke-Houston game is an unbelievable matchup. That would be a national championship matchup. And then on the other side, you got Auburn, Florida, where Florida's a 2.5-point favorite. A little bit surprising because I think the uncertainty of Broome. But Duke is a 4.5-point favorite. But have you had fun watching the tournament? And I'm not here to judge. Like if you say, no, I think the tournament sucks, I'm not going to push back on that. But have you had fun watching the tournament?
It's been all right, but it's going to end with a banger. I know that.
It's been okay. I will say that the Texas Tech comeback against Arkansas and the Florida comeback against Texas Tech definitely, I'm not going to say saved the tournament, but was very big for the tournament. Like those are two memorable tournament moments where we'll kind of look back and like outside of the fact that all 4 number ones made it, we'll be like, those were really cool. And I think also the emergence of just Walter Clayton in general, of just him being able to close out games, even going to UConn, has been really cool as well. I think it's been in the average to middle of tournaments in terms of competitiveness and memories and whatnot. But like,
isn't the smallest margin of victory in a long time from the round of, Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Now, granted, Houston beat Tennessee before that game even tipped off yesterday.
I mean, that was really.
But what if I gave you a tournament like we've had the first 2 weekends, where we get all the number 1 seeds that are really, really good, and we get 3 incredible games? Would that make up?
Yes.
For if you're like, you know what, I haven't had a great tournament.
I'm okay with it not being the best to lead up to the Final Four, because I know that the Final Four is going to be so damn good. Like, I'm okay with it not being this, oh my God, Cinderella, this and that, buzzer beaters, whatever. Remember, I'm fine with all that because I know that we have these 4 insane teams that are going to give us 3 really, really good games. And like, there are kind of, and you know this, in almost every year, we look at the Final Four and we go, yeah, I would kind of prefer this team to beat this team. Like, I don't have a rooting interest, but I would prefer this matchup over this matchup.
Give me 3 great games.
This is ideal. Like, I do not give a damn who wins these games in terms of matchups. Like,
I hope I win.
Anybody, any one of these teams.
I do have a little bit of an interest, but continue
on.
I
would prefer Duke, Florida. But like, if Auburn were to play Houston, I'd be pretty damn excited about it, right? Like, if Auburn were to play Duke, I'd be pretty damn excited about it. If Houston were to play Florida, like, that'd be a pretty damn good game. Like, no matter how you combine it, you know you're going to get a banger of a national championship, and you're going to crown a true, like, all 4 of these teams deserve it. All 4 of them are absolutely insane. And they all kind of match up, like, pretty similarly with each other, too. Like, if you really start digging, like, these teams are built pretty likewise in terms of their ability to rebound and their size and their physicality. But then, you know, you definitely have some differences that make all these teams unique in a certain way.
You know what I think this Final Four? And
what is it?
I will enjoy this Final Four. It's like the 2019 college football playoff.
Okay.
Remember that college football playoff?
I do.
Okay, so there was really only one close game, but you had 3 teams that went into the Final Four that you went, man, somebody's going to have to lose. LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson. Now Oklahoma, and Oklahoma got blown out by a great LSU team.
That's what they do.
But the 2019 college football playoff had 3 just incredible teams that I believe were all unbeaten. LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson, were they all unbeaten going into that?
I'm looking at it right now.
I think so.
It does.
And then Oklahoma was like, I think Oklahoma was like 12-1. So 3 of the 4 teams were unbeaten. That was a great playoff. Now, only one game was close when Clemson beat Ohio State. Nobody was touching that LSU team. But it was like, okay, here we go. Final Four, college football, 2019. Somebody's going to have to lose. Dang.
Yeah. LSU was 13-0. Ohio State was 13-0. Clemson was 13-0. Oklahoma was 12-1.
Yep.
I mean,
So that's what I kind of compare this Final Four to.
I just think,
but there's no real like who would play the role of Oklahoma. That would be the only difference. Even though you're 12-1.
What I do,
even 12-1, you just got blown out.
What I do think is pretty cool though about this Final Four is that around like late January, early February, we were looking at the bracket matrix and we were looking at the conference play and like we talked about how, wow, this is really top heavy. Like these 1 seeds are pretty locked in, and more than likely it's going to be a 1 seed that 1 or 2 seed that ends up winning these things. And we were breaking down the fact that you don't want to be an 8 or a 9 seed because you don't want to play these 1 seeds. And it's like when we started talking about Auburn so much and Florida so much and Houston and like Duke, you kind of got familiar with those teams early on in the year, right? Because you started paying attention to them more. You started learning more about Concanipple and Proctor and Malawak and Flag, and then you are, Broome and Pettiford. And like, I thought it was just really cool this year because of how good the top of the NCAA was, that so many people had their eyes on them, that you almost became familiar with that team before you even got to the tournament. Because even some of the bigger fans,
I don't know about that. I think people are just realizing who Clayton Jr. is.
I mean, at least for me,
that's the great thing about March Madness.
Yeah, that is true. But I do think that there is like, just because we knew that these teams were so damn good, people were paying more and more attention to them. And then the fact that they come through the tournament, it's like, you're a little bit more familiar with that. You might have a little bit more of a rooting interest, especially if you were, started seeing these guys playing in January. But like I said, there's nothing more to say other than these are the 4 best teams in the country. I have no idea who's going to win, and I am super, super excited about it.
The other thing about the Final Four this year is crazy because Duke has become likable, probably because of their head coach
and their best player, their superstar player, who's a likable guy,
and they don't have an exciting white who trips people. That's probably why. Like Duke is lacking that white guy that everybody hates, that Grayson Allen. So Duke is likable. You could make a case that the 3 other teams are very likable as well. We don't really have a villain, and we have people that you root for. Like, I want Kelvin Sampson to get all of the due in the world, and I was so happy yesterday in a place that effed him over that he won to go to the Final Four after last year losing one of their best players and getting beat by Duke, that he was in the state of Indiana and got his ticket punched to go to the Final Four after what IU did to him. IU's never been the same. Kelvin Sampson has been better. Actually, it might turn out, sometimes you get fired and it turns out to be the best thing for you. Kelvin Sampson getting fired in Bloomington might have turned out to be the best thing toward the end of his career. He has turned things around. The Houston program, I don't think gets enough credit because Kelvin Sampson is not out there and he's not making headlines for all the wrong reasons. But you have 4 teams that are extremely likable. You got a 37-year-old coach. You got a 39-year-old coach. You got Bruce Pearl, who coaches in politics, and then you got Kelvin Sampson, who just knows how to build a program and is on an unbelievable run at Houston. Likable Final Four. Maybe that's another reason why people are like, I want a villain. I want to hate somebody. I want to hate that Bruce Pearl guy.
Now,
like, there's not even players. There's not even players on the 4 rosters that you go, that Hoff guy. Oh, I'm coming after him.
Well, the funny thing is that now everybody wants Dan Hurley in the Final Four. Everybody was so happy when he got knocked out of the round of 32 and we're taking a victory lap. And now we're all sitting here being like, I actually would prefer someone to root against. But like, that's the one thing too, though. When you watch these teams play, it's like, you're right. They're disciplined. They play really, really good basketball. They play it the right way. They're all very good defensive teams. They're all these teams have, it's almost as if you like are a basketball savant. You love watching all 4 of these teams play because they value the fundamentals of basketball. They don't turn the ball over. They play great defense. They rebound the crap out of the ball. All 4 of these teams, like they do things the exact right way. And then on top of that, they have the excitement of you have, an LJ Cryer. You have a Walter Clayton. You have a Cooper Flag. You have a Janiah Broome. Like, you have star power. Like throughout the entirety of these rosters. And those are just the best players, right? We haven't brought up Hawk or Proctor or any of those guys either. But like Kelvin Sampson, there were videos that popped up on my Instagram of him when he first got the Houston job in 2016. And he was going and this was multiple videos, multiple times of Kelvin Sampson going to the student union, going around campus, walking around campus, meeting with students who probably didn't care about basketball and begging them, hey, please come to our basketball game. Come and support us. I am the men's basketball coach. We play our first game of the year tonight. Please come. And it was a really cool edit. They now edit it to what Houston's at now. And the fact that place is absolutely packed and the student section is like crazy and it's always a riot. Like the fact that he was like, he didn't inherit anything. I think we get a little bit too much on John Shire because what he inherited. I think he's done a pretty damn good job at Duke.
He's the Ohio State football coach, isn't he? Coaching at Duke in the offseason?
Yeah.
But no hair dye.
I mean, but what Kelvin Sampson did in Houston, he was handed nothing. He built that himself. And so it's hard not to look at a guy who's absolutely built that from the ground up and not be like, oh, I don't like that guy.
You know, the one thing I appreciate about Coach Sampson is, first of all, they were the least picked number 1 seed to make it because of their road. They beat, they go 16-8, 4-2. So you like chalk, they faced who they were supposed to face, and they beat them all. If you listen to him talk about his team, and not going to individuals, but every year talks about his team, he very regularly talks about talent. I mean, he could start with the talent that he has accumulated and cultivated, and he could go on and on about it. Listen to any of those pressers, or when he's doing interviews. Very rarely does he talk about talent. He talks about the intangibles of chemistry, being a team, leadership, helping each other, loving one another. And then maybe he gets to talent. Man, I have a huge appreciation for a coach that's the way he approaches it. Never talks about NIL, never talks about portal. He talks about his team and coaching his team and doing it the right way. And they got a heck of a matchup against Duke, but I love the fact that he is going to get a lot of attention close to Houston, because I still, and he's hardly regarded, but I still believe that he is underrated in the sport in terms of coaching. And again, we don't give enough credit to people that win. Winning is hard. They're 30-1 in their last 31 games.
That is crazy.
They're 159-23 in the last 5 years.
Jesus.
And they decimated Tennessee yesterday.
They did.
They beat Tennessee before the game even started. They won a game to go to the Final Four by 19 points yesterday against a really good basketball team and a really good coach in Rick Barnes, who has to deal with coming up short again this time of the year.
I want to shout out someone real quick. His name is Alan Bishop. I had to look him up. He is the strength.
John's alter ego?
I believe that's dad. Isn't that John's dad's first name?
I don't know.
I think Big Al is John's dad.
Really?
Shout out Mr. Bishop.
All right. I'm ready to talk about John's dad?
No.
Do I need to brace myself?
This is Alan Bishop, the director of men's basketball sports performance at the University of Houston. Okay? The reason why I want to shout him out is because Houston has hit the court.
Fremont's tough, man. Economy has hit Fremont. People are getting out of there right and left.
Houston has hit the court multiple times this tournament, and they're out there, and you look at them and you go, damn, these guys are big. Like, they are strong. Like, Houston looks massive. And then yesterday, when they were playing Tennessee, they looked like, I mean, they were like little kidding like Tennessee. Like, they looked like they were varsity basketball players playing against JV basketball players. It was ridiculous. Like, the size and physicality advantage that Houston had against them. And it dictated the game. I mean, it's exactly why Tennessee shot so many three-pointers early on in the game, because they could not get into the paint because Houston was so damn big and so damn strong. So I got to look up who their strength and conditioning coach is, because all these guys are built like brick houses. So shout out Alan Bishop, because that guy has done one hell of a job at Houston.
He has done a good job producing kids.
Letting it all hang out.
Produced a radio host and somebody who was in the band at Nebraska.
Hell yes.
All right. Here's the lineup brought to you by the Roofers at John Higgins Weather Guard. Evan Bland will join us at 8:30. Nebraska baseball, which is the epitome of the Nebraska fandom right now. They took you through it this weekend. Plus, we'll get his thoughts as week number 2 of spring ball comes your way. And then Jacob Bigalow will stop by at 9 today. This is a day we get to watch Bryce Williams play in Vegas, as Nebraska and Arizona State will play at 7:30 tonight. In the opening game of the Crown, will it be vanilla? Will it be
strawberry?
Blackberry?
I think it'll be peachy tonight.
It'll be a little peachy?
I think it'll be peachy. I really do think it'll be peachy.
You like a peach?
Peachy Royal Crown, not bad. Apple,
I know
not bad.
I don't like the apple. I don't like the apple. I like the peach, though. I'll get on the vanilla. That's my drink. No. Vanilla Crown with a Diet Coke. Can't beat it.
That's what you get. You win, you get NIL money, and you get all the Crown for life.
Bottle service.
Oh, my God.
Not sure if that's true or not, but that sounds like a great deal.
That sounds like an incredible deal.
That is the lineup brought to you by the Roofers at John Higgins Weather Guard. We are off and running. We will talk about Nebraska basketball playing today. They've been off for 3 weeks. Remember that team that plays at PBA? Now they're playing at T-Mobile tonight as a 5.5-point favorite against Arizona State. Plus, we'll talk about the weekend in baseball and more on college basketball. Good sports weekend. Going to be another great sports week. We need the weather to hold because there's some good baseball. You get Creighton and Nebraska Tuesday night, and then you get Nebraska and Omaha on Wednesday. Storm Chasers open up on Tuesday, back home against Louisville, the Bats out at Warner Park.
We are back.
That's the week that will culminate with the Final Four in San Antone, the hometown of Jimmy Chavez.
It was conceived there.
It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. Hey, speaking of people that are likable for the most part, across the board, likable Final Four. How many Final Fours have you guys been in?
Like 0.
Couple.
Kim Mulkey. I've been in 0 in my life.
You said a couple?
Yeah.
You played in a couple of Final Fours and you're just now sharing that information?
I thought you were saying, have you been to them?
Oh.
I've been to like Final Fours in like youth hockey league tournaments. I played in a couple of those.
Also in domes.
Did you ever play in the Alamo Dome, those youth hockey tournaments?
No. I did play at Notre Dame's ice arena though. That was pretty damn cool. In one of those Final Fours.
I don't know that
Midwest Great Lakes semifinal.
I don't know if a Final Four. I know the weekend is cool. The event.
Once you've been.
The Saturday is greater than the Monday.
Sure.
I don't want to sit that far away. I went and saw a basketball game at Jerry's World, and it was a terrible viewing experience. You go to the Final Four, and you sit so far away.
See, I went
even if you got good
There's zero
seats.
point. At that point, just like if you're that far away, just sit down on your couch, save your money, and watch like the basketball and listen to like actually good announcing and a good presentation.
When I went, it was the old configuration. It was half the dome. So it wasn't as bad. Now, I haven't been since they went to the whole monstrosity. And I say this every year, and I agree with you. It's like, okay, you're going to say you went. You're going for the gram. But at the end of the day, I'm with Matt. Sit on my couch. Big TV.
On my couch.
They already start the game 30 minutes earlier for me, which I appreciate. I saw that 7:50, and I said it's about damn time. We don't need to be starting these things at 8:20. So
you go to bed early on the weekends too?
No. Monday. They said Monday night's game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, Saturday we stayed up to 12:30. Regular night owls.
Ooh, watching yourself some Morgan Wallen sprint off the set at SNL.
We're getting caught up on Severance after basketball.
Yeah, I got to start Severance. Anyway, I understand it's tradition and everything like that, and everybody is like, you play the Final Four in a football stadium, and you have to have a lot of people there, the bigger venue for the big event or whatever. It's a terrible viewing experience. They should just put it in like a pretty big basketball arena and a pretty big NBA arena and just put it there, have the Final Four sheet. It's just a better viewing experience for everybody who's in town. Like I understand like it's the allure. Yes.
Municipal auditorium just decorated like the 1952
like,
Final
look at
Four.
this massive venue. This venue is massive. Oh my God. It's so great. It's crappy to watch a basketball game in.
Was kind of surprising that they moved, or they not moved, but they had the Midwest Sweet 16 and Elite 8 in Lucas Oil.
Yeah.
I think it's because the high school state tournament was going on this weekend.
At Gainbridge?
Yeah. Because I wondered that too. I'm like,
Indy.
yeah, sold out.
Darren DeVries in town looking for players.
Pretty good place to
like
look.
Basketball in
Indiana.
honest.
His entire roster is gone. Here's one other thing about Duke and how Duke is kind of like likable from Cooper Flagg to. I like John Shire.
I do too.
I think
White Mike.
I got some thoughts a little bit later on the show on him, but here's how you know that Duke has become likable.
I like
and maybe
player.
Coach K towards the end, you didn't like Coach K. Okay, you didn't like his. You didn't like his snooty. He was like,
yeah.
I rooted for Tarkanian.
The announcers remember at the height of Alabama how college football announcers, the way they talked about Alabama would drive people crazy.
Yes.
People get upset. They'd be like, "Quit sucking off Alabama, okay? Just stop.
Yeah,
it's enough." And there'd be a ton of pushback. The announcers talk about Duke like they used to talk about Alabama, and there is no pushback.
Because when you watch this team,
but it's the same level.
It's the same level.
There's no pushback. So it's like, man,
it's weird to watch for sure.
Duke has become likable. Thank you, John Shire, Cooper Flagg.
But
Dr. Kent.
I also think that Duke has become likable as well because their guys are their guys. Like everyone has kind of dipped into the portal and taken and poached players from smaller places or taken players from other big schools and paid a ton of money for it. Duke, and because they are Duke and they recruit so well in high school, they're Duke guys. Like those guys aren't coming from anywhere else. Duke recruits them. Duke picks them up. Duke develops them. They make their system. And I think that is so rare now in just the NCAA, just in sports in general, where people have just grown to respect that. They have grown to respect the teams like Purdue, like Michigan State, who have their homegrown teams that haven't taken from anyone else. I think that also has another thing to do with all that. On top of the fact of they just play really damn hard and they're really damn good and they play basketball a great way.
Win this weekend for schools that evaluate the portal correctly. Don't just throw money around, but they evaluate correctly. All right, we start the morning with old man Doug.
Doug.
Good morning. Hey, I've got somebody for you guys to hate.
Okay.
And maybe you won't hate him, but
I'm always looking for new people.
Kevin Willard.
All right.
Yeah. Pretty easy.
I mean, he, my old man takes about loyalty and gratitude. Well, he, of course, everyone points to the coaches, and he is the poster child for just dealing, just not being genuine.
Well, let me ask you this. So he is, he gaslighted the whole situation. He lied. He left in the middle of the night. Do you employ any divas there at Equitable Bank? Like, let's be honest. You don't have to give names. Do you have any divas that you employ?
No.
Okay. But if you did, if they have a really good resume and they're good at the job, you can put up with the fact that they're a diva, right?
Yeah.
So Kevin Willard comes across as a diva, but if you look at his resume, there is not enough on his resume to say, okay, you get a pass, you can be a diva. So the way he has handled this situation, not surprising, because he's just doing it in a more awkward way, but gaslighting the Maryland program and lying out the door is not the way to go. And those people, usually it comes back to bite them.
Yeah. Goes around, comes around.
I mean, Villanova is actually a program that, even as a Creighton fan, you more respect than you hate. And their fans are usually, for being in Philadelphia, are pretty good. So that brings me to my next point. And I've been thinking about this revenue share thing. Do you have any, Gary, you've got better, and Matt, you probably have better sources than I do on this revenue share. Is there any estimate to like what a Big East team would get with no football as compared to what the guesstimates are going to be for like a Big Ten or an SEC or a Big 12 team on the revenue share? Is it going to be a lot more? Because what with Willard going, you're going from a program that has won a national title, has some pretty good tradition, really. He hasn't been that good lately. Mm-hmm. And they're saying, well, Villanova's a way better job. There's got to be something behind this math, and that I'm not seeing yet.
It shows you, until the loophole is kind of plugged by the SEC and the Big Ten, the Big East is in a good spot.
Yeah,
because they don't have to fund football. I mean, they don't have to share. They don't do the 70-15-5-5-5 model that most Power 5 schools will do. So they can invest a lot into basketball. The Big East is in a really good spot. The Big East is going to be fine. Thus, you see why Richard Pitino goes to Cincinnati, why Willard leaves Maryland to go to Villanova. The money is good for now in the Big East.
And
but they're not on the Big East. The non-football schools, of course, are not on the level of the $20.5 million.
Yeah.
One last thing. This is for the Crown tournament. I actually think Nebraska's pretty good chance to win this thing. And if they win this thing, what are their fans going to go, right, this should have been happening all year, no. If it does go to NIL, other than the right thing to do, could they stiff? They wouldn't stiff Bryce Williams and
no, they're not going to stiff anybody.
Gary, those kind of guys.
They're like, hey, thanks, but no thanks. You just thanks for getting us $300K to give to our future Huskers.
Yeah,
no.
But I'm thinking of the mechanics. I'm thinking of the mechanics of it. Does the Crown just write a check to 1890 and said, "You guys distribute it"?
I don't. Okay, so that is going to be handled internally by Fred Hoiberg on where the money goes. But there's no way that if you're playing in this and you're on the team and you go out there and you win this, or even get to the semifinals where you still get some money, that they're going to take that away from you. That'd be career suicide if I was Fred Hoiberg. I don't know, like, it's Fox that is behind this. Does Fox just give cash to Nebraska, and then they say, hey, Fred, you determine how you're going to distribute it. Like Bryce gets 70% of it. One guy gets 2% of it. However that's going to work.
Yeah,
But this is the future, Doug. I mean, the Players Era tournament, these more NIL tournaments are going to be more attractive to schools these days. This is where we're going.
No, the best part about it, in my opinion, is I'm so tired of ESPN, and this crown really speared the NIT, which is ESPN's moneymaker, and ESPN probably won't even put the crown scores on their little score tracker thing.
They don't put most sports on.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like, I love it because they're getting speared, but Nebraska's got more players that are not opting out, and so that's why I think, honestly, they're probably the favorite, aren't they? Or them or Boise State?
Yeah, they would have to face Boise State in the semifinals. I'd be a little surprised if they didn't make it to the semis.
Yeah.
But all right, Doug, thanks. Have a good week. All right, 7:30 tonight. Be by your TV. Arizona State has 7 scholarship players available. They have 3 guys in the portal.
I wonder how, if Nebraska does end up running the table and winning the crown, like how it will be celebrated, because like this has taken the place as the next best tournament outside of the NCAA tournament to the NIT. And to win the NIT, you hung banners, you celebrated it. It was an actual accomplishment.
They would hang a banner,
but I still think that because this is like a brand new thing that not a lot of people have heard about, and that it is tied to money and it is tied to a TV network, and in some people's eyes, it's more so of a cash grab than it is like a postseason tournament, that there's some negativity around it. So if they do end up winning, I think it's one of those things where it'll look better as the years go down. At the same time, you're not going wild and crazy and being like, oh my God, what a successful, like this, we did what we wanted to do. We won the crown. But I do think there is a little bit momentum in regard to it if they end up winning this tournament. Not a ton, but there is some momentum. I think there's some momentum.
They lose the 7 guys off the team that would win the crown.
But I still think there is a positivity around the program that they ended the season winning 4 games in a row, had a trophy. Fred Hoiberg has a little bit more confidence in his coaching staff and what they're able to do. I'm not saying that they're going to end up running the table next year because they end up winning the crown, but I still think there's a little momentum there.
When we come back, I'll tell you how is the right way to watch and consume the crown.
Okay.
Because I will bring it down to your level,
sure,
which you can understand, which we will do. 5.5-point favorite tonight for Nebraska and Arizona State. 7:30, baby.
Probably been the other side. I'd take plus 5.5.
Both teams have been off for 3 weeks.
Arizona State's going to shoot 3-pointers.
I will say that Fred Hoiberg will have his team better prepared than Bobby Hurley.
Well,
advantage Nebraska.
He's got more of a team to prepare than Bobby Hurley does.
All right, hour number 2 coming up a little bit later. Evan Bland and Jacob Bigalow on 1620 The Zone. Hey, before Doug, we get a chance to get into this, how will Doug feel if Pop Isaacs comes back to CHI next winter on a Big East roster?
Ooh.
Xavier and Providence, Ole Miss, places that you can take a lot of shots, have an interest in Pop Isaacs.
That would be incredible. We would need to get a call from Doug right away to preach about loyalty and the fact that Pop Isaacs was not loyal and now he's become disloyal in the Big East. But be a pretty good fit for Pop Isaacs. I mean, at the end of the day, for him, he's just got to stay healthy. You know, that's just kind of what it boils down to.
Kind of all of us.
If he can just stay healthy, I think he's a pretty damn good player.
All right, we've given a lot of run this morning to the Crown. Okay,
we talked about it for 5 minutes. All right,
which might be for some too much. You're ready to move on.
I wouldn't have known. Hey, I wouldn't have known if it was tonight if it wasn't.
Nebraska basketball's playing basketball. They're playing Arizona State.
It's be the first time in a long time. No emotional attachment. I will watch because it's my job and I'm curious, and I get to see Bryce Williams play. Other than that, you know how I will treat this game and how this tournament should be treated? Because remember, you got Villanova didn't have a coach. Arizona State don't have players. Nebraska kept everybody, but Raleigh Wooster is going to be injured and he'll be out.
Yeah.
Looks like Braxton Mia may give it a go tonight.
Wow, what a warrior!
But this is how you should consume the Crown. Okay, Fox is going to push this because of their heavy involvement, and they want to grow the game. And it is kind of crazy. We're going to have, 16 teams play 15 games over the course of a week?
Yeah.
So it's going to be rapid-fire basketball. This is Fox's thing. They're promoting it. I see
rapid-fire basketball of a bunch of teams that you really wouldn't pay to watch, if we're being honest.
Just embrace it that Ed Cooley has Georgetown in the postseason.
Can you imagine the whiplash that some fans are going to get after watching beautiful basketball that took place over the last couple of days with the Auburns and Michigan States and Floridas and Dukes? And now you're going to be watching Georgetown and DePaul and Arizona State and Boise
if you can
State
gamble on
and Nebraska. I am not gambling on this at all. I am not going to gamble on a bunch of teams that did not make a true postseason who haven't played in 3 weeks.
So I wonder if, like ESPN has gone all in on in-game gambling on the UFL.
Yes.
Which UFL is in trouble. I mean, there are more people in the studio that were at the game I watched yesterday, and I watched like 2 plays, and I'm like,
I watched 4 plays.
I didn't even know they were starting.
ESPN has gone all in on the in-game gambling. I wonder if Fox, because they have Bear and they have a couple other gambling experts, if they will turn this into a gambling thing as well. Like, will we see?
Ooh, it's in Vegas.
Will
true. People like to gamble.
Kevin and Robbie Hummel are doing the game tonight. Do they have to cut to something or read a promo about gambling? Or will there be a box on the screen about the odds, the in-game odds? Will they treat it as a gambling
like a UFC
thing?
fight, you know? And this bout so far, Arizona State, they've shifted to a plus 145 underdog here.
All you need to know is go to foxsports.com. They are treating this like it is bigger than the NCAA tournament.
Turn it into the St. Thomas Omaha game at the Summit League Championship, talking about the overs and the unders.
Hey,
and
at least Nebraska gets their own broadcast team. I mean, it's like home.
Oh,
I'm picking the Huskers to win the whole thing.
Hey, thank God Brando's not on this game. I would. Hey, but if he was, I'd be listening to Kemp. But here's how you should consume the Crown. And Nebraska just happens to be in it. It sucks.
With Diet Pepper?
It sucks.
Diet Dr. Pepper?
No.
Tastes a lot like regular Dr. Pepper.
That's not a bad little addition.
Pretty the blackberry one?
What this is the non-playoff New Year's Six bowl season, where it is essentially an exhibition. Not everybody that you played the season with is going to be there.
Yeah.
Not even your head coach.
It's actually a great comparison.
It is. And you know what? The records count.
Yeah.
But you should watch it like we consume
the Outback Bowl,
the Liberty Bowl,
the Pinstripe Bowl,
or the Holiday Bowl.
We're excited. If they would have lost, you know what? We're on to the next season. Hey, we get to watch another game. We get to maybe watch 3 games. But I'm going to treat it like I do a non-playoff bowl game where people have opted out and you have no idea because they've been off for a long time. The 2 teams playing tonight are off for 3 weeks. That's how I will look at it. If they lose and they don't win, okay. If they win, all right. I'm already on the next year. I'm more concerned about the 25-26 roster than I am what 24 and 25 is, except for I want Bryce Williams to get paid.
The thing, though, is that, and this goes back to the conversation we had last week, where it's like, at least in the Pinstripe Bowl, you were able to see Vincent Shavers and Willis McGahee and Caleb Benning and some really, really young players. And like, you're like, all right, hey, you have a future here. Like these are pieces that we're going to be able to build on. You don't have that really for Nebraska basketball this time around. For me,
you don't think Jeffrey Grace will play a little bit more? Jacobson will play a little bit more?
Maybe Kale. I wouldn't mind if they gave Kale a little bit more of a run, but like, I mean, that's the one thing. I would have loved to see Janikowski or Frager go ahead and play this game and see like where they're at in terms of their development. For me, how I'm watching it, and you're going to laugh at me, I just want to see the ball go through the hoop, like physically and metaphorically. Like
when it's 2-0, you're going to celebrate?
No. In terms of like, I just want to
swish.
They hit a shot for the first time since the Iowa game.
Well, it's like 7 minutes left.
Huskers up early.
No, I mean, like, I just think this season ended so terribly, and not just from like a record perspective, but also the teams you played, right? They did not play, like they played Penn State. They didn't make the tournament. Michigan made the tournament. That's fine. They should have won that game. But then you lose to Minnesota, Ohio State, and Iowa to not make the Big Ten Conference tournament. All three of those teams did not make the NCAA tournament. They are all not considered to be good teams in the country. And yet you lost to all of them in all winnable games to not make the actual tournament you wanted to make. I have such a sour taste in my mouth, okay, about this tourney and about the end of the season that I would like to see Nebraska win at least one game just to be like, okay, hey, I saw it happen. The ball went through the hoop. Happy times. And then I don't care after that. But I would like them to win tonight because it just ended so poorly during the regular season.
It should have ended and not been in this tournament.
Sure.
They would not be in this tournament if it was not for money.
Regard. I agree in that regard 100%, because you know what? At least we could just move on and not talk about it anymore. And when we see this team play, yes, there is absolutely going to be a part of me that is like, if they're playing really, really well, I'm going to be a little bit mad.
I want to hear more about what Price Sanford is going to do compared to what the Turkish Nightmare might do.
I do.
That's how I will consume this. I don't know if they will sneak that in, if they will have a portal activity, portal targets.
Oh my God.
What if they had not only a gambling expert drop in?
If they had a portal tracker during the game?
Like Mike DeCourcy drops in and he said, hey, Arizona State, they lost their fourth leading scorer to St. John's, but they just picked up one guy. He can't play. Now Nebraska is looking at Sanford, and he's got an opportunity. It's between Nebraska, Illinois, and Iowa. He could go back to Iowa. Nebraska looks like an offense. I would love that.
Can you imagine if
that would be great.
You win the tournament, you get a player.
And in the background, there's basketball going on, and all we're doing is talking about the portal and next year's roster.
Gary, you're talking about Kornacki doing the portal. That's what you're talking about. Can you imagine Steve Kornacki with the big screen pointing at all the different players, pointing at all the different locations and the spots that they might
nuts at this point.
That would be incredible. If there was college basketball really should just do what the NBA does. And, ESPN does the NBA free agency special. Oh, my God. If there was a college basketball transfer portal tracker special, 6 hours nonstop, just coming in, phoning in, who's going to where, what does this do? Hundreds of guys are going to different teams. That would be absolute chaos. It'd be incredible.
Robbie Hummel says, Mike, what do you think if you look at the offense and you got Rick Mass coming back next year, Jalen Jackson, if he would transfer from Purdue Fort Wayne, like, what do you think that would do, Mike? I would be all for that. Hasn't Arizona State lost 5 in a row as well coming into this game?
I think, they're 13-19.
They live in Tempe, so did they really lose?
Hey, Nebraska does have a really good chance, like, to play a couple of days in this. If you look at, because they would play probably Georgetown next.
Oh,
and then Boise State, Nebraska would be.
It'd be a game. It'd be competitive.
It would be on the TV.
Yeah,
it would be on the TV. Here is
as opposed to just what baseball.
Andrew, good morning, channel. Andrew.
You guys are honking me off today.
Whoa! We're what? We're what in the what?
Not allowed.
Is that a dump? What are we doing? We're not doing anything. What?
You're grinding my gears. That's what you're doing.
Well, maybe if Creighton was in the crown, Andrew, we'd talk about them.
Well, first of all, talking that Duke is acceptable. Sweet Jesus.
You don't think they're likable?
That is terrible.
You wouldn't want Cooper Flagg to date your daughter?
You wouldn't want Con Knipple to date your daughter?
I would. My daughter's 8 pounds and a dog.
No, they will never accept Duke or North Carolina as a likable team.
But they're skilled and they play hard and they got a coach that cares and like actual talented players who don't piss you off.
Also, let's not. I mean, these CBIs, even the NIT and this thing, it's just pure sewage. These teams are terrible. They're not even intact.
It's a good
and
promo.
You guys' love for your Huskers is just nauseating. I don't know what to do with you guys.
Well,
I think you need help.
Let me tell you. I think now I can't speak for my partner.
Yeah, I'll speak.
I think I've consumed this tournament in the right way, is to have fun with it. My partner appears to be a little bit more serious.
I am. I actually do want them to
dialed
win.
in that this is going to make a difference next year. It's
morale.
It's basketball.
He's having a watch party.
You get to watch. You get to watch Bryce Williams play. That's what matters the most today.
Soak it in.
Well, you know how I'm going to take this game in.
How are you going to take it in?
Not watching it.
Well, you don't watch the regular season games anyway.
When was the last full Nebraska game you watched that was not involved with Creighton?
Oh God, I don't know. It's been
years.
Sweet Jesus, I don't know.
Tom Wald.
Well, I'll watch them if they're losing really bad. I'll take that in.
Hey, do you think?
I'll enjoy everything.
Do you think Creighton fans watch more Nebraska basketball, or Nebraska ball fans watch more Creighton basketball?
Ooh, great question.
That is a question there, Sharpie.
Well, think about it. You know, I hope I grinded your gear the right way with that one.
I will say, and does anybody know where that term comes from?
Grind my gears?
Yeah.
Probably from a clock, right?
I'm going to say it was a World War II reference.
No, it's a Family Guy thing.
I was going to say, I was grinding my gears.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say...
Okay. Random Mike.
Okay.
I would say Nebraska fans don't really take in Creighton basketball. I would say Creighton basketball probably watches more Nebraska games.
All right. I was just curious.
Yeah, why are you obsessed with
it? Are you guys going to watch the game tonight?
Yes, we'll watch the game. But I will not be like, it will not ruin my night. Like, I will not stay up all night if they lose. And if they win, I get to watch another day of Bryce Williams playing.
How about you, Matthew?
If they lose, I'll be a little upset about it, yeah. But I'm obviously going to watch it. Because it'd be frustrating. Because I like Nebraska and I like my basketball team. And I don't
off for 3 weeks.
I don't care. I don't like it when my teams lose. There's no way around it. Is it going to keep me up at night? No, it won't. But at the same time, if the triple zeros hit and Nebraska doesn't have more points than Arizona State, I am going to be like, damn, that sucked.
All right, Andrew.
Par for course.
Andrew, we'll expect a full breakdown tomorrow. Call on the VIP line.
I'll be coming in hot.
All right, thank you. Here is Jeff. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Good morning, guys. Hey, the one thing we're missing on the Crown is don't forget that NIL bonus. You win the Crown, you get an extra $1 million in your NIL fund for your basketball team. So that's what I'd like to see. Is like, ooh, here's a potential $1 million. What player can they maybe pick up with it?
Do they?
Now, I think that was proposed. I don't think that was finalized, Jeff. The players get money.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is that how it is? Okay.
Yeah, so you are right. When this was first proposed, that was one of the elements that gave us a lot of interest. But then when we got inside of it, there is money that goes to the players, not to your collective.
Gotcha.
Yep. But there is money. The players are playing for money.
Makes sense. So, all right. Well, there's the incentive.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for the phone call. Appreciate it. Crown Fever.
Crown Fever, baby.
If Nebraska won the Crown, would you buy a T-shirt?
I would buy 2 T-shirts. One for me and one for you.
One red, one black.
As a Christmas present. The Crown champions.
Hey, your season tickets are going up because they won the Crown.
Huskers.com. Go now.
This team is now more marketable than it's ever been.
NIT or bust.
Jesse, you'd like to chime in on my question. Does Nebraska ball fan watch more Creighton games, or does Creighton basketball fan watch more Nebraska games? Good morning, Jesse.
Jesse.
Good morning. Yeah, that's a pretty easy answer. Because Creighton doesn't play in a conference with 37 teams where not everyone makes their conference tournament every year, and Creighton does. And then also Creighton makes more NCAA tournament games. Just by proxy, you're going to have Creighton on TV more because, the Huskers don't really, when they do get in, especially since Creighton has joined the Big East, it's just they're on TV more. I've been at sports bars, for lunch or for dinner, and a lot of sad Husker fans in there while Creighton's playing, and they look up and see the score, like, "Wah," and they go back to their chicken wings, and so it's just natural. Yeah, it's just how it goes.
It's also a great point, actually.
Yeah, and I think the Crown. I don't know. For me, as a guy whose team is not in the tournament, because my team went to the NCAA tournament, the way to watch the Crown, I think, is just you plan a yearly trip around it, just because, especially if you like basketball, just go to Vegas every year and watch. Who cares if it's Seton Hall against Nebraska or whoever against Nebraska every single year in the Crown?
Yeah.
Just plan a trip out there to watch Nebraska every year.
Yeah, screw the Final Four. Why would you make a trip out to San Antonio and have a good time out there? Just go to the Crown.
Especially when your team's always in the Crown, just do that.
Better sightlines, at least.
Jesse, thank you for doing your favorite Limp Bizkit impersonation. We keep trolling.
I mean, he's got a good point.
Hands down.
He's got a good point to the fact that, Creighton is on FS1 and Fox, and Nebraska is more commonly on the Big Ten network. Like that, I don't know how many. When you're at a bar, there's probably FS1 on more often than there is the Big Ten network. It's a decent point in that regard.
What was the breakdown this year? I thought Nebraska played a lot on FS1.
Did they play a lot on FS1? They played a decent amount on Big Ten. They kind of move them around. Doesn't matter regardless.
Ray says, well, I'll just give you the hashtag first, rent-free. Weird all these Jays fans calling to talk about Nebraska ball. Great rivalry, man. Nebraska, why couldn't you made the NCAA tournament?
It's the one thing you guys never told me.
Omaha, Nebraska, and Creighton could all been playing in Lexington.
And yet one's in Vegas, one went to Providence, and one made it to the round of 32.
Larry says, just remind all your listeners, who is the only team that is still playing?
Nebraska basketball, baby. Survive and advance. They've survived and they've advanced.
This is like the bowl season starts on December 20th and we don't play till December 28th in the Pinstripe Bowl. This is what this is. The playoff has already begun.
I know. Isn't it great when they do that? Or it's like, they're like, oh my God, Nebraska lasted longer in the postseason than this team that's clearly better than them because they just play later. Or it's like you have like the Cinderella stories who play like the last game of the night and they ended up, their season went longer technically than top seeds who lost earlier.
Should Michigan State make a coaching change? Because one of their alums, his season is lasting longer than Tom Izzo. Loyola of Chicago is still playing.
Great point.
I think that's if we're following along what you were just saying.
Exactly.
I think that's how you should look at this.
I mean, Fred Hoiberg coached deeper into March than Tom Izzo did. Maybe we should start thinking about changing some nicknames.
A trade?
Maybe when Buzz Williams goes to Maryland, Trev says, you know what, Fred, I like our connection. Why don't you come to College Station? Because you were in the tournament longer than Texas A&M was.
Yeah. Great point.
Okay, we found some value in the Crown. And that's enough talking about the Crown. We will move on.
It's momentum.
Brought to you by
Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, you want to be involved with an Omaha roofing company that is focused on you, serving people, insurance, restoration, doing all of the things that you need, gutters? You're looking to Moose Roofing. They are the MVPs of roofing in Omaha. They've been here since 1996. Pat and his team, they are local. They're not going anywhere. All the way from Omaha to Gretna to Council Bluffs. The roofs in this town, they've been taken care of by Moose Roofing. And what they're going to do, residential roofing, roof repair and service, or commercial roofing. They just don't show up and put a roof on, which would be uncomfortable if they just showed up and didn't need a roof and they put a roof on. What Moose Roofing does is when you contact them, they're going to come out with their consultants. They're going to take their time to get to know you and your home. They're going to look over the entire roofing system. Ventilation system achieves maximum net-free area, showing how to fortify your roof before the next major storm occurs and how proper and preventive maintenance can save you thousands over the lifetime of your roof. And then they go a step further. First of all, they're going to clean up their job. There are not debris all over your yard like some places that their roofing company is on wheels and they just roll into town after a bad storm. They're going to make sure that you are happy, and they're going to go a step further because if you have had to put on a new roof or you've had to do some with your roof with all the storms we had last year, you know that the insurance process, it is getting increasingly difficult. Moose Roofing, they have an entire department that are going to walk you through everything. So schedule an appointment today. And then we had the big storm last week. We've got more storms that are going to come here in the spring, maybe even tomorrow. There is hail and high winds that are forecasted. Stay ahead of the storm with Moose Roofing, the MVPs in Omaha. Contact them online today at mooseroofing.com. All right, welcome back in, Gary and Matt, on a Monday, the final day of March. Celebrate accordingly. The men's Final Four is set. The women's Final Four will be set after tonight. Texas Tech, TCU. You get to see Haley Van Lith's father celebrating. And her boyfriend. Suggs. Yeah, her boyfriend, Jalen Suggs. And then you get Paige Beckers against Juju-less USC.
I know.
On the women's Final Four in Tampa, Friday, Sunday. Men's are in San Antonio. Saturday and Sunday. Some sad news out of the local basketball world over the weekend. Larry Ribble, who was longtime Millard South boys basketball coach and one of the best basketball coaches in the state of Nebraska, passed away at the age of 81. Anybody that knows Coach Ribble, great guy, huge heart. He had been working at school as a substitute teacher, and I think he'd been in the weight room supervising. But he was through and through Mr. Millard South, great basketball coach, even better person. I mean, there's a school that had Larry Ribble and Andy Means coaching at the same time. And that was sad to hear that Coach Ribble had passed away over the weekend. Of course, the incredible 88-89 team that is in the Nebraska High School Sports Hall of Fame that had the game-winning shot, and I think is the last Class A team that was unbeaten. But the other part of that is really close friend to me who passed away back in the fall. Matt Kelly was the guy that hit the game-winning shot, and Coach Ribble's son Dale was the point guard on that team. So that's a huge loss in the basketball community, and even more so in the Millard South community. And I know that people that are listening have stories that they probably had Coach Ribble as a camp instructor, whether his own camps at Millard South, or he would go out to Hastings because of his relationship with Coach Trader, and he would work those camps as well. But he was a wonderful person, and hearts go out to everybody in the Millard South community, because that's a big loss of the news that came out over the weekend. Stu Pospisil wrote a really nice story. He knows Larry really well and the family.
Condolences to the family. And, whenever you have pillars of those, high school sports are so important, just youth sports are so important. And it's so important that we have characters like that and men and women like that who are role models to communities, and not only just teach people sports and how to play certain games, but also the character building that comes through that, right? I mean, sports is just more than just games, right? They're just how we create character. And so to lose someone like that, always a heartbreak for the community, and our condolences go out to him and his family.
Another high school note over the weekend, Byron Jones from Omaha North got an offer from Iowa. Mm-hmm. So he is a rising senior, so he'll be a senior in the fall. His brother Donovan is competing for a starting quarterback spot at Nebraska. And just like Jet Tomala's stock and the offers that are coming his way, Braylon Warren, Byron Jones, who I think is better than his brother. He is a freak athlete. They use him at wide receiver and defensive back in Larry Martin's program. An offer from Iowa. When will an offer from Nebraska come?
Yeah.
There are a lot of defensive backs. That is somebody they cannot allow to get out of the state. After seeing him, we did 4 Omaha North games last year. His upside is unbelievable. He's a really good athlete that is just growing into his body. And I liked his brother Donnie. And Donnie, I think, is going to be a good player at Nebraska. I mean, look at what he did in the Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah, he was great.
His younger brother, I think, is going to be a better football player. So not surprised that Iowa made the offer, but will Nebraska come through with an offer for him?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you're looking at kind of the early portion of when Matt Rule got here to Nebraska. There definitely was an emphasis on, hey, in-state. Mm-hmm. We got to keep guys within the borders. We got to make sure that kids who grew up here who are Husker fans come and play for the Huskers. Right now, if you're looking at the 24/7 2026 in-state rankings for Nebraska, or just the state of Nebraska, there's currently 2 Iowa State commits, and no commits right now at least in the top 6 of the prospects in Nebraska to Nebraska in the class of 2026. And so, I mean, it's curious how there's been a little bit of a shift in terms of that was such an emphasis and that was such an important thing to now, obviously they're still going to go after in-state recruits. And I don't think Matt Rule and his staff have any plans on a bit.
What does 24/7 have Torrey Pittman at Central listed?
He's not listed. He's not listed. They only have 6 recruits listed right here in the class of 2026.
He's 2027.
Oh, 2027? Oh, I'll go to 2027 for you. Pittman is listed as, go here. I got to go back to Nebraska now. This is terrible radio. The mainframe of how 24/7 does the state rankings are really, really bad. Here, I'm going to it right now.
Well,
Hold up. He's number one. He's number one. He's the only 2027
Yeah.
prospect in the state right now.
So what does it say is his
he's a
national?
He's a 4-star. He's 12th nationally.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, end of the week, huge news at Omaha North. Like big time school, community, big announcement coming up on Friday at Omaha North. All right, when we come back, it is week number 2 of spring ball. And this begins my, what are we? How many days are we away from the Cincinnati game?
Geez.
What's the countdown?
I have no idea. 162?
Let me look here.
148?
149 according to our friends over at Husker Max.
I said 148. Look at me.
From now until kickoff against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I'm going to invite all of you, if you'd like to. This isn't some like scheme or anything like this. This is not a Haktua coin scheme.
It's not a mega
church. It's going to be investigated by the
Dogecoin.
SEC. No. If you would like to come along and buy some stock in Big 97, I'm inviting people every day from now until kickoff to come and join me on the Keona Davis bandwagon.
What do you mean? I'm the originator of the Keona Davis bandwagon. I was there in December. I was talking about him before the Pinstripe Bowl. Then he hopped in the portal, and everybody was tweeting at me, being like, Matt, what happened? You start talking about him.
Jimmy, he wasn't here.
I was here.
He wasn't here.
I was here. I was the Keona Davis
here.
guy.
Yeah.
I'm the Keona Davis guy, the Quinn and Ives guy. Those are the two guys I put my
you
flag
are a big Ives guy. But
I was the Burl
it's
Ives
okay.
guy.
Beginning now for the next 149 days, you should wake up and go, that Keona Davis.
I'm infuriated. It's not. It's
I
our
mean, it's
bandwagon.
Monday. Week gets
It's
better.
our bandwagon.
Wow, very territorial.
Our bandwagon.
Young Matt.
On Keona. We both.
Wow.
I claim Keona too. We both can have him.
He wasn't here in October, but that's okay. You've joined. That's okay.
Welcome.
Big 97. They coach him up.
Not just a state.
Big 97 going to be some problems.
He is. He's going to be awesome.
All right. So that is today. We'll be back again tomorrow to do it at the same time on Gary and Matt, 1620 The Zone.
Oh, it is that time. We're changing seasons, baseball fans. Take a swing at making picks on all your favorite players with Underdog. And that's already paying off. Okay, so how do you do this with baseball? To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. The same type deal, like strikeouts, home runs, hits, and more. It's really easy. They got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. So you can create entries with all baseball picks. Or basketball's not over. The professional guys are still playing. In fact, people tell me the playoffs are coming. Well, it's true. And you can mix and match across those other sports as too. You can play with as little as $1. And if you get everything right, you win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your baseball knowledge. This week on Underdog, well, I've been looking pretty much at every Dodgers game because they continue to make me money. Well, that's a good thing because they make the most money. It has been proven. So I'll pick Shohei to do things because he does things. And again, he wins me money. And if you're keeping score at home, money is good, and you can win some too. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on all the fun. When you sign up with promo code ZONE, claim your special offer today. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
3 of the 4 coaches in the men's Final Four, Jewish.
Oh, look at that. Mazel tov. That's incredible. That's awesome for that community. I mean, I grew up very, very a lot of pride in the Skokie community to see that 3 of the 4 coaches. This is great stuff.
Jake tweets in, quit talking about the stupid crown. I'm one of the biggest sports fans out there and have 5 TVs in my living room, and I won't be on a single one of them. Liar.
What else is on tonight?
You will
watch the crown.
There's a little bit of you get the women's. There is baseball.
NBA.
There's women's.
That's 3 TVs right there.
He'll watch because he will be peer pressured into it. Talk about serious things like why can't the Braves effing hit? Got swept in 4 by the Padres. Brian Snitker might retire.
Josh Hodson will be along shortly.
You know, it got really bad yesterday when they were talking about whatever they were talking about a Yankees team that won the World Series, and they were like, they had to say, you know, that team started the season off 1-3, and Joe Torre was being rumored to be fired at the beginning of the year. That's how bad it was getting in San Diego. The fact that they had to bring up the fact that happened before because the Braves were just getting their butts whooped. And this is a team that a lot of people think can win the World Series. Not good. No bueno. But do you know what it is bueno? Spencer Schwellenbach. Very bueno.
He's got no productivity at the plate.
No, 0.
6 and 6 scoreless?
I think they scored. He went 6 and 6 scoreless. I think they scored like 6 total runs in 3 games or something like that before yesterday. I mean,
Cade Povich pitches today.
Awesome.
For the Orioles.
Yeah, Orioles going to need it. I mean, they got a lot of really, really good bats in that lineup, but they don't truly have, and like they've been more of a bullpen team like as of the last couple of years. They don't have like that true ace. Not saying that Cade is going to be that, but you know, definitely a younger type prospect that they're hoping that can come through in the former Husker. I mean, he's a really good pitcher.
Maybe they need torpedo bats. That's what everybody needs. Atlanta, by the way, I guess, and this is all seriousness, has put in an order for torpedo bats.
If you are a team in the Major League Baseball right now and you have hitters like Volpe and Jazz Chisholm who happen to hit the ball on more on the inside part of the bat as opposed to the barrel, why would you not order torpedo bats? I mean, you absolutely should be ordering them.
I think this is an overblown story.
Me too.
So hitting a baseball is one of the hardest things to do in all the sports. Milwaukee, by the way, not a good look for Milwaukee.
No.
2 of the 3 games, they use position players to pitch. The beginning of the season. Good luck today. The Brewers open up at home against the Royals. But it's funny to hear the people that push back on analytics or however they look at analytics, the way they approach this bat, which basically was made in a lab, which was followed.
MLB regulation, yeah.
Louisville Slugger is no longer the official bat of Major League Baseball, so there is an opening. Ironically, this MIT scientist who designed this bat, which the Yankees, there were a couple guys who were using it last year. Okay. They hit a ton of home runs. 3 games against the Brewers. Everybody went, oh boy, we're now going to have video game numbers and we're going to have to look at the bats. Well, the guy that designed them now works in Miami, by the way. But here's why I think this is an overblown story. Milwaukee's pitching sucked, okay? Nestor Cortez was throwing BP.
He was awful.
It still has to do with the person that is holding the bat. The warrior has got to be greater than the weapon, and the warrior has to have hand-eye coordination to swing at a pitch, okay? Now, does the bat look odd? Hell yeah, it looks odd.
Yeah, it looks different.
But the person that is holding the bat still has to hit the baseball, the said baseball. It's not the bat that you just put the bat out there, and it's not like the Bugs Bunny cartoon where the ball hits the bat and the ball goes over the fence. So the person that is holding this torpedo bat actually has to swing it and adjust to where the pitch is. I don't know. I'm sure because it's the Yankees, this story will get bigger and bigger and bigger. But I think I'm siding the warrior is greater than the weapon.
Matt Rule. I think the Yankees being the team to have these bats and absolutely rake the baseball definitely has something to do with the fact that this is getting a ton of attention and the fact that it's like on the back page of the New York Times, or the New York Post, and like people are constantly talking about it. And it's now going to become a national. I'm sure when you turn on ESPN or Fox today, they'll be talking about these torpedo bats. I'm sure it'll be a segment on Pardon the Interruption. The matter of the fact is that, first off, Yes, they face bad pitching. Secondly, they were in a hitter's ballpark, all right? A lot of these home runs that Jazz Chisholm was hitting was over the short porch, all right, and barely. Like, they are in...
You mean they would have gone out in 35 other Major League parks?
I mean, I think
would they have gone out in
homer,
Sacramento?
Probably.
By the way, baseball today in Sacramento.
How about it?
They'll have a little bit larger crowd than they had for the AAA game yesterday. I'm just guessing.
They need a beam.
I thought you were going to say they'll have a little bit of a larger crowd than they had for all of the Oakland A's games last year at the Coliseum. Look, if the Mariners were doing this, right, and they just had these weird like torpedo bats, like it would be like this weird like niche thing that we kind of like mentioned, and then if they ended up playing well, probably like midway through the season, we would point it out and be like, oh, hey, look, like the Mariners actually have upped their batting percentage by like 22% this year because they're using these torpedo bats, and 4 of the 5 guys, 4 of their 9 guys are using them, and look, they're batting so much better. Like it would be like this interesting story, right? But because the Yankees are using them, the Yankees are raking, and the Yankees look absolutely incredible. Like people are like, oh my God, this is terrible for baseball. We have to shut this down. We have to ban them. What people also forget too, the Yankees are just great. The Yankees are just really good at baseball. Like I think a lot of people kind of got off of them because of the Garrett Cole injury, but this is still a team that had 89.5 wins, for their over-under, that still have some of the best power bats in the league, that still have some really quality, full-blown hitters. Like I just, like you said, this is just baseball. And also, too, we're getting to the point where with analytics, where a lot of people are looking at the same numbers, and you're trying to find different numbers and different advantages and use them in different ways. I am totally I think it's fair game, and I am totally for the Yankees looking at numbers and then adjusting equipment or adjusting things on the field in order to give themselves an advantage. And hell,
they're the Bill Belichick of Major League Baseball.
In what way?
Belichick always looked for loopholes.
Sure. And that's exactly, but I don't even know if it's necessarily like a loophole. Like it's within regulation. There's nothing wrong that says you can't move more wood to a certain part of the bat. They did exactly that. They given themselves an advantage. Hey, nothing is stopping anybody else from doing that before they did that, and nothing is stopping anybody else from doing it right now.
Can you imagine how many fan bases are disappointed they didn't move wood? Because that's essentially what you're saying. That's true.
Exactly.
They moved wood, and now all of a sudden they had success.
It's all the more wood you move, the more games you win. Apparently, in the MLB, it's all about moving wood
in life.
Yes. Back to the Final Four. By the way, Jim wants to know if we're having a watch party
for the crown.
I'm not having a watch party.
I thought you were now.
I'm not having a watch.
You're starting to get me kind of. If you lived closer to me,
has your enthusiasm for the crown dissipated since the show began?
Oh, my enthusiasm for the crown is just it's peaked up a little bit because you have no enthusiasm for the crown, and Jimmy couldn't watch.
Mine's grown because I didn't know that they were playing tonight. I was like, Severance season 2 tonight. Not anymore.
My enthusiasm for the crown just simply comes to the fact that the last time I saw this basketball team play, they were absolutely terrible, and I was there in the building, and I got my heart shattered. And so, yeah, I would just like to see them play some good basketball, just to have a little bit, just warm my cockle just slightly.
I'm here for Matt's reaction.
From that point on, I don't really care.
I would like to see them play good basketball against USC Upstate to begin the year in 2025-26.
I really do think, though, like, if you look at Fred Hoiberg and you look at this coaching staff, they definitely have had to have a sour taste in their mouth with how the season ended and the fact that they lost to the teams that they lost to. And they were incredibly disappointed. And I would think that if they were to go to Vegas and they were to win the crown, they were to fully run the table and do it, it would give themselves a little bit more solace on the year and a little bit more enthusiasm heading into next year, and a little bit of momentum, a little bit more momentum. The fact that they ended the season on a win as opposed to losing it in a terrible performance against Iowa. I'm not saying that.
So you're saying this has to, but that only feeling is if they win it all.
Yes.
Like if they win one game, lose the next.
It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters.
We got two more games.
If they lose tonight, and they look terrible doing it, I'm going to be like, all right, whatever.
Any local media outside Kent and Jake out there? Like like Willie is not out there. Robin's not out there, right?
You don't.
Bigelow is not in Vegas.
I don't think they sent anybody sent anybody after the actual NCAA tournaments and the actual postseasons.
Jacob could have stopped in Fort Collins on the way out there.
Hey, it's not cheap going to Providence.
Are the announcers on the game from Fox greater than the event?
Yes. Yes.
The other thing about Fox is
much rather listen to Kugler.
Will Fox have tight shots? Because I can't imagine the crowds. I mean, they're in the big arena. They're in T-Mobile. They have T-Mobile for a week. Like, will they give away a lot of tickets? Like, if you are a Nebraska fan and you're
a lot of our servicemen and women,
you're like hanging out. You're hanging out at the Park Inn, and somebody strolls through the lobby saying, "Hey, you want to come across the street to T-Mobile? I've got tickets for you." Like, will there be?
I really don't have a read on it.
Seats?
I don't have a read.
There's no local team, so they're not filling 17,000 seats.
But sections for homeless people, perhaps that could be a nice I
don't know. Could be a nice little Monday activity if you're out in Vegas, being like, "Hey, you got nothing else to do? Hey, you want to stop and see the Sun Devils play the Cornhuskers at the MGM Grand?" I don't think that's a bad.
No, I love corn.
A bad way to spend the night. I don't think it's going to be like sold out by any means or necessary or anything like that. But at the same time, I don't think it'll be completely empty.
Want to go to a basketball game? It's everybody.
That'd be a terrible
every
wish.
Charity.
That'd be an awful wish.
To see,
can you imagine if that
compete
was
at the highest level?
Your make-a-wish was, "Hey, I want to go to a basketball game," and you were trotted out to see Nebraska play Arizona State.
It was this, or the Blazers, or
there's
the Wizards.
So the tickets are. I'm looking on Vivid Seats.
Yeah,
reasonable.
I think this is where they're selling their seats. So this isn't like 17 to 22.
Take the family if you live in Vegas.
25. Let me scroll.
Are there a lot of open seats there on your? Are there a lot of purchasable seats?
The entire lower bowl is available.
Okay.
The highest end ticket is like $50.
That's a bit
Is
much.
that courtside?
So to sit.
No, you're. On
they
one
have.
Of the teams.
So they have the upper level is.
Closed off.
Yeah. Why did I say T-Mobile? This is at MGM Grand. You're right.
Yeah. It's
but hold on. In their advertisement, don't they have?
No, it was
T-Mobile
MGM.
as the background.
Maybe it's the championship.
T-Mobile Arena.
Maybe it's T-Mobile as like a sponsor. T-Mobile's
gotcha. So I did. So the semifinals and championship are at T-Mobile.
There we go.
Gotcha.
The first round and quarterfinal round are at MGM.
Okay.
So that's why. So I'm looking at this.
So here's the even bigger
all
question.
of the upper level is curtained off.
When they're at T-Mobile for the semifinals and championship, how empty is that place going to look?
With that
I mean, who the hell is going to go to the championship of the Crown? It's not like there's any big brands or anything that are there. Here, let me look at the.
Maybe they'll do a 50-50 raffle.
Being how the tickets start at $51 when you go over to the NHL arena, and the game is starting at 10. The first semifinal is at 10:30 local. Because it's the same day as the Final Four.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, 10:30 in the morning. I thought it was 10:30 at night.
12:30 here.
Okay. Oh, I should be playing the Final Four.
For tonight's game at MGM, it looks like nearly every seat in the lower bowl is available.
What would be like the biggest brand final here in the Crown? Like the one that Fox is rooting for to get the most viewership for? Like, would it be a Colorado, Nebraska?
I would say, I have no idea who. Eric Dixon's going to play for Villanova, so at least they have that. I would say Nebraska and SC.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Nebraska SC. SC definitely a bigger brand than Nova, but I think Nova would probably come in second in that regard, at least on who's on the right side of the bracket.
Will Kevin Willard be watching from a suite?
Is a great question.
Will he be watching? This is bowl season. This is bowl season if you're not in a New Year's Six or the playoff.
I immediately think of Bill Belichick. Did Bill Belichick did he go to the Boston?
He didn't go to,
he didn't go to Fenway Bowl.
Yeah. But speaking of the announcers, so this is all Fox is all in.
Yeah.
Okay. All in. I think the final on Sunday goes up head to head with the women's final.
Because
the women's final still in the afternoon?
I think so.
So the men's final is 2:30 local, so it would be 12:30 Central.
No. 4:30.
4:30 Central. Sorry, I did the math wrong. 4:30
It's
Central.
all
Yeah.
over the place now.
Would it go
12:30,
head to head?
2:30,
Why would they
4:30.
do that? Why would they go head to head with the
No,
women?
it's Fox. Remember, according to Doug, they hate ESPN, so they're just going to stick it to ESPN.
Because they don't want to go head to head against 60 Minutes.
But the other part of Fox is all in. They got their big production crew out there. They got their best basketball announcers that are out there. Their basketball savants are all in. They're doing picks. They got their bracket. They got analysis.
Sit down with Phantom.
On the other side, when you make a big change with announcers on big events, has there ever been a seamless transition like they've had with CBS from Jim Nantz to Ian Eagle?
Thought that yesterday.
It's just they haven't, they haven't missed a beat going from Jim Nantz to Ian Eagle, and it was cool to see Jim Nantz following his alma mater in the crowd.
Fan Jim.
Coach Sampson brings him up. He says he's one of us. They celebrate with him. I'm sure that if Jim Nantz was doing the Final Four this year, it would be very uncomfortable. Like, could he be the we are, like Barkley now being Auburn? I'm okay with that. We tried for so long where announcers they try and hide their allegiance and be neutral for their alma mater. I think we need to stop with that. We get cracked all the time about, oh man, you're a Nebraska grad and you're just pro Nebraska. You know what? You can be good and bad and, tell it like it is. I think we need to take the ropes off. I think we need to let announcers that have affiliations with their school, if they played there, it's okay to openly root for them. Like Barkley. It's fine. Why are you trying to hide it? It makes it uncomfortable.
Play-by-play announcers, or I'm cool with analysts and panelists.
Now,
and
it's a little bit tougher with a play-by-play because then you think, oh, geez, he's favoring them.
Yeah.
But the analyst?
Oh, the analyst for sure. I couldn't agree more because it makes him more relatable, right? When Charles Barkley is up there and he's going crazy over Auburn, or Kenny the Jet Smith is picking North Carolina as an 11 seed to go all the way to the national championship, or Candace Parker is go Tennessee.
Or if Miami of Ohio gets back and Wally Zerbiak can go all in on the Red Hawk.
I don't know where Adam Lefkoe went to school, but
probably
Nova.
That's an Ivy League sounding name.
Adam Lefkoe probably went to Villanova. Probably did go to Syracuse.
When in doubt, go with Syracuse.
I believe he did go to Syracuse.
Did go to Syracuse.
But if Jim Nantz was doing the Final Four this year, I think it would be really uncomfortable.
I couldn't agree more.
But it's cool that he's showing, and he hasn't hid that he has an allegiance to Houston, and he goes actually to a lot of games.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool yesterday. He was there cheering as a fan.
That's just Kelvin Sampson being Kelvin Sampson.
I should have done this sooner.
He's had such a great run as a coach. Obviously, his team's in the Final Four. But from a PR perspective, there's what Kelvin Sampson did, and there's what Kevin Willard did, right? Kevin Willard had a terrible media cycle.
Because Kelvin Sampson went through the Spurs organization.
Awesome media cycle. He complimented Gonzaga, complimented Mark Few, talked about Rick Barnes, their relationship, how much he loves him, how important he's been to him. Then he's bringing down everybody's favorite Jim Nantz to take a picture with his alma mater. Do you know how cool of a moment that is for Jim Nantz to be a proud alumnus or alumni and go ahead and the coach calls you down and says, "Hey, come here, take a picture." I mean, that's just awesome. That's just quality class stuff from Sampson.
Never get that.
I agree with Ed here. He goes, Gary, you know what's going to happen. And then he just went ... talking about the crown. Yes, I do know what's going to happen because it's right now the life of a Nebraska fan for their male sports. Nebraska will win the crown.
Yeah.
Nebraska will win the crown. That's what it is.
They will win the whole damn thing.
He's going to have a T-shirt.
Evan Bland coming up in the next hour. Jacob Bigalow stops by. He's a big fan of the crown. He would buy a shirt.
He keeps calling it Fire Fest. What do you mean he's a big fan?
Fry Fest.
It's fire.
Is it fire?
It's fire.
It was Fry.
No,
I'd be in on Fry.
Fry Fest is what you have at a Nebraska State Fair. Fire Fest was the music festival,
which is coming back, right?
It's been coming back for 2 years now with the same scam artist who tried doing it.
But Fire Fest was these.
I think the new Fire Fest will do well because I think people do want to be annoyed and experience a bad experience.
Do people want to be annoyed? Poll question.
I think people do.
Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, so it is portal season in college basketball. College football portal will open up here soon. College hockey opened up on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Good news for Omaha. Simon Licozzi, the goaltender of the year in the NCHC, is returning.
Hell yeah!
They're gonna have a busy offseason. They're gonna be quite a few guys that'll leave their roster, probably not by choice. So they will turn over that roster. But they got Simon is back for next year, so that is a win. Did you enjoy? Because I saw you were interacting with Bruin Steve.
Yes,
the little college hockey that went on over the weekend.
I was
one of the best hockey games I've seen in a long time was played yesterday.
The UConn Penn State game? Yes, that was quite incredible. Penn State, I was so mad that I could not stay in Chicago to go to Wrigley to see Penn State play at Wrigley because they had that Big Ten showcase there with Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State was there as well. That would have been really, really cool to experience. I saw the highlights of that game yesterday. So yesterday, for me, and I texted this to you, was a classic, man, I would love Sunday night football right now. Like, there was just nothing on. There was nothing to watch. I just needed sports. You had and also too, you've just been so spoiled with all the great sporting events that had happened over the last couple of weeks that I didn't have any withdrawal. If anything, I was like, I need more. I need to watch more sports. And so, funny enough, Denver was playing BC on to go to the Frozen Four yesterday. So that was one really, really good game. Denver kind of controlled it for the most part. BC was playing on a lot of their heels. I'll tell you something right now. Denver's coach, David Carl, is awesome. And it's only a matter of time. And it's no.
I've asked the Denver hockey people when I've been out there, and they said, do not go there because he's not built like others.
Really?
Yeah. I know where you're going, that he would be like a great NHL coach.
I was going to say it's only a matter of time before he gets a shot.
He apparently, so this is from their director of ops, who was introduced through a third party, and we were standing there talking. He said he has been courted.
Oh, yeah.
And he loves his gig at Denver. I'm not a big fan of Magnus Arena. Baxter Arena, by the way, is head and shoulders above Magnus Arena. But Denver is on a heater, and they are the premier program in this hockey conference. They've overtaken North Dakota, who just announced their new head coach. But he loves Denver. He can do a lot with DU. I mean, look, he's back in the Frozen Four. He's got a chance to win another national championship. He also is involved in USA Hockey, so he likes doing that. So he can stay. He can stay as the head coach of Denver and do all of that. Live in Denver.
Yeah,
and they pour all kinds of money into his program. Here's the thing, and by their standards, it was a down year in the NCHC, which is the league that Omaha plays in. But they still have 2 of the 4 in the Frozen Four in St. Louis are out of this league, and it's Denver and Western Michigan.
Yeah.
Now here's where college hockey ranks. And if you saw, the Penn State UConn game that ended in overtime is one of the best college hockey games I've seen. Then you get, Denver winning, and Matt Davis is great between the pipes. Is ESPN disrespects college hockey. Disrespects it when they get to the biggest stage of the Frozen Four.
Without a doubt.
Why in the hell is Denver and Western Michigan playing at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? 3 o'clock local time in Denver. Like when Omaha played in the Frozen Four against Providence, they were stuck playing an afternoon game. That's absolutely ridiculous that they would stick a game at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the Frozen Four.
Another thing too, and I know it's because, and I haven't looked at the ESPN schedule, so maybe they have something else going on April 12th that they have to tend to, and that they are broadcasting. But the national championship is on ESPN 2. It's not even on big ESPN.
Which
it's
I
on
think
the secondary channel.
I think it's been for
probably a while. Yeah,
multiple years.
It's the national championship. It's hockey. It's a really big game. There are college hockey fans. There are people who are rooting for those schools, and there are people who just enjoy the sport. The fact that it's on ESPN2, once again, I don't know their TV schedule. Maybe there's some massive big event that's going on that they clearly have to put on over that, and where maybe I'll temper off of that. But if that isn't the case, there is no reason why it should be on ESPN2. It's a national championship, and that's how you build the sport.
Yeah, if the ratings, though, were better, I'm wondering if they would bump it to big ESPN.
But you would think so, too, like that ESPN, with the fact that they own how much of the NHL that they own and how much of the NHL that they broadcast, that they would probably try to invest a little bit more into college hockey because it would only help their product. Now, it's not the same with college basketball where Cooper Flag...
Now, they don't carry any... Do they carry any college hockey regular season?
I don't know.
Or is it just strictly
I think it's on
the
ESPN
national?
Plus.
See, I think the only national college hockey that's carried on a regular basis is CBS Sports Network. Now, scary thing is that agreement with the NCHC is ending.
With ESPN?
No, CBS Sports Network.
Gotcha. Are they? So, I mean, are they
I have no idea.
Yeah,
but I don't think ESPN has enough places to put college hockey in the regular season, but they own. I think it's more not on the NHL side. I think it's ESPN owns all the championships for college sports.
Yeah, I just think when you have college hockey, the amount of times that people will just be hockey will be on at a bar, and people who aren't hockey fans just happen to be there, and they start watching it and their eyes become glued to it. It happens a lot. Like, hockey is an exciting sport where maybe you don't have to be fully in tune of what's going on, but it's still very enjoyable and very entertaining. And it's just it's just another aspect of ESPN owning the rights to something and then just not doing a good enough job in trying to actually build that sport and actually trying to progress it and make it a product that not only is beneficial to the people who are playing it, but beneficial to themselves.
Yeah,
as well.
I think now I don't think that's a blanket statement you're making, right? Because they have grown the women's sports. They've grown volleyball.
No,
they've grown women's basketball. They've grown softball. I'm curious if the ratings aren't worth the squeeze for college hockey, so they don't invest more, which is a cop-out, because I'm with you on the sport. But if the ratings, like, what will they do with wrestling? They have actually started to carry wrestling more, not just on Saturday. And I think it coincides with the ratings. And, there's another thing to keep in mind about the calendar and ESPN's influence. ESPN, as of right now, after this year, will not have Sunday Night Baseball. So do they take in the women's basketball tournament and they move it into more prime time on Sunday night so you don't have the feeling like you had last night?
Yeah.
But I gotta believe that the college hockey ratings don't push them enough to say, should we consider putting it on big ESPN?
But at the same time,
because it's a business,
and I agree with you in that regard.
You got to make money.
I agree with you in that regard totally, and sure, you can look at the numbers, but I don't feel like you know until you know. Like, I don't feel like you.
They have
really
carried
know.
it for a while.
Yeah, well, on big ESPN.
No, they have carried it on ESPN2 for a while.
But I mean, the difference in ESPN and ESPN2, I feel like, just from like a analog perspective, right? When you're on YouTube TV, if you're trying to watch something on ESPN, it is right there. But if you're trying to watch something on ESPN2, you have to scroll quite a ways down to even just click on that thing, right? So it's like the exposure aspect of it as well. But like, I understand from like the numbers perspective in terms of, hey, this is the reasoning for maybe not doing it. At the same time, I feel like you just maybe not risk, but like, you could just put it on if there's nothing else going on. If you're only going to be running like NFL Live or Sports Center or like any of your talk shows or like highlights or just college baseball or regular season college baseball game, I would much rather them broadcast the championship of college hockey on main ESPN. And then if it flops, then you just throw it back to ESPN2. But at the same time,
NFL's greatest moments on ESPN.
I just love the sport, and I just think that I just have a lot of experiences with people who watch the sport for the first time who really, really enjoy it. And I just think that the more that you can put it on the main stage, the better it is for the entirety of hockey. That's just how I've always viewed it.
What have been the ratings after the Four Nations? Meh.
I don't think the needle has moved as much, but I am curious to see what the NHL playoffs do this year as compared to last year, because I think that might be a little indicative if they did indeed get a Four Nations push, because I mean, they've been promoting the NHL playoffs really, really well, especially during the NCAA tournament where people know that it's coming.
I think the ABC Saturday night game has done pretty well.
That's good. I think that when you get to playoff, you'll get, because the Four Nations was high stake hockey. High stake hockey. And I think people enjoyed the fact that, hey, when the stakes are high in hockey, things get intense and they get really entertaining. I think that the playoff numbers, if they're any better from this year, from last year, I think that might be indicative of the fact that, hey, people like it when hockey matters. The problem is, though, is that, from a long-term perspective, right, you want to bring in the more casual fan that's watching the regular season. You don't necessarily want to be the NCAA tournament. Now, hockey, way more small potatoes in the NCAA tournament, but the comparison being everybody just shows up for the NHL playoffs. Everybody just shows up for March Madness. You want to actually build a consistent audience.
I wonder if, so take out the College World Series because it's at a time where it really has no competition. But like wintertime championships.
Sure.
I bet ESPN looks at wrestling with a chance to grow wrestling's audience more than they do hockey because of the brands. So give me the Final Four, the Frozen Four for hockey.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is Penn State, is BU, right?
Penn State, BU, Denver,
and Western Michigan.
Yeah.
So
you just don't have big fan bases.
You always look through it as a lens of a college football program.
Yeah.
But in wrestling, you get Penn State, you get Iowa, you get Nebraska, you get Oklahoma State, and thinking the brands will carry that sport along with the people that love that sport. And so maybe they give more attention to wrestling. But there's also, but it would make, like hockey doesn't, wrestling last weekend went head to head with the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament. Hockey goes head to head with the Masters.
Yeah.
On the opening day of the Masters and then, moving day.
Well, another thing too, and this is a great point you brought up with where you have the name brands, right? The Iowas, the Nebraskas, the Penn States. You have more of, alumni and just students and people who will tag on to that, who don't necessarily need to be wrestling fans, but they see the Big N or they see the Nittany Lion and they're like, oh my God, I want my team to win. I mean, I'm sure there are people who tuned in to the NCAA wrestling championships who didn't know who the wrestlers were. They just happened to be wearing their school colors and were like, rah, rah, shish, kumbah, let's win. You don't really have that in hockey. You just don't have the people, the cavalry coming along.
Very much. I mean, it's two kind of like somewhat niche sports.
Oh,
but if you have a brand and the brands are always at the top, like the Frozen Four would probably get more attention if Minnesota wouldn't have got screwed the other night in their loss. If Michigan State, which Michigan State had another incredible
If Notre
season.
Dame was there.
Yeah, but now you have 4 teams where you look at it through the lens of college football, rightfully or wrongfully, and you go, But in the hockey community, you go, hey, those are 4 really, really good teams. Yeah. All right, we got to take a break, come back. Evan Bland will join us before the hour is over. They have not started to keep score in Lincoln, but I believe that Heinrich Harburg is 1-0. I will tell you the victory that he kind of got over the weekend as he moved into the number 1 spot.
Okay.
We'll do that. Right. We'll come back. 1620 The Zone. All right, Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald will join us coming up in the next segment to help us make sense of the weekend that was Nebraska baseball, who won 2 of 3 against number 5 Oregon State. They beat the Beavs on Friday, got routed by the Beavs, and then shut down the dam late. It was starting to spring a leak, and then late in the flow of water, they came in and shut her down, and they won 2 of 3, and it all makes sense this weekend.
That was absolutely incredible. A soliloquy of just dams and beavers and just
furry
great
creatures.
Plays on words. All the 2 outs, baby. All the 2 outs.
Yes.
Just put it together. Pass the baton. Keep going. Keep moving the train. It's incredible.
I did not see beavers over the weekend.
You didn't see any like physical animal beavers?
But I was driving home.
You got to look for them. You never know.
I didn't see. I saw a lot of frogs this weekend.
Shout out Kermit.
It was either Friday or Saturday, and I was driving, coming late, coming home to my house. Raccoons.
Yeah.
Like I think there was a raccoon that was running a 4.240 that sprinted out in front of me and just went running down the street.
Quick feet.
Yeah. Like you know how they hop? Like barely.
Like
his feet were
a
barely.
big one?
It was a pretty good sized raccoon.
A kick returner written all over it.
What, was it more so like a free safety like type raccoon?
No,
or
this
is it
was
one that you're putting into the backfield?
This was like a 6'4" sleek wide receiver that was going to blow the top off the defense.
Just a great athlete.
But and then I noticed a couple of raccoons this morning.
I saw my first ever raccoon in Nebraska when I went to school back in Lincoln, and I was absolutely nope, right in the trash. Went to go and throw out my diet Pepsi, and I was throwing it out, and I look and I like freaked out. Like I had never
Smart
seen
man
one.
throwing away Diet Pepsi.
I like Diet Pepsi.
The raccoon was like, no, I want sugar.
Pepsi products, but no. Anyway, I was absolutely freaked out. Those eyes, the way
Threw
they
it
look
right back at him.
Oh my god, absolutely creepy.
Into the Equitable Bank inbox. Which one of you would like to give me the beat of One Shining Moment? Because Bob here has some lyrics.
The karaoke man.
Go ahead, Jimmy. You go.
No, seriously, you're the karaoke.
No,
man.
you go.
Do we have the acoustical version of?
We can look for it.
So Bob writes in with new lyrics. Maybe Fox steals. Do you think Fox will have One Shining Moment?
Oh, they'll
montage
have something terrible
for the Crown.
Yeah, on Sunday while they're cutting down the nets at T-Mobile.
You have a One Shining Moment for the Crown.
They'll have their own song sung by Jewel.
Absolutely not.
By the way, that Houston-Purdue baseline out of bounds play at the end of the game will be in One Shining Moment. It might be the first BLOB in the history of One Shining Moment. But Bob writes here, as Nebraska is
out of bounds
cutting down the nets and Fox cues the song we all enjoy. The ball is tipped. The coach is gone. Lots of players flip. Texas hired Sean. You missed the hero shot trying to earn that cash. This isn't what we thought. Ratings are in the trash. But one shining money grab, it's all on the line. One shining moment when NASCAR starts, we'll be fine. Good job, Bob.
That was good. The transfer says flipped is a really good one. We took them all from FAU.
Don writes in or tweets at the show at Gary and Matt at Gary Sharp 1620 at Matt McMedia.
Yes.
What you just said is why Bond should be in the Hall of Fame. Oh, this is back to the torpedo bats.
Yeah.
Will there be a torpedo bat era now? Give me a damn break.
I don't know.
So
the whole I don't think the New York Yankees
home runs away from Judge.
I don't think the New York Yankees are taking any needles and they're injecting them into their bats. I think it's just more so they had an MIT science dude, some little nerd in a lab, and he just carved the bat a different way, and now it's helping them out.
Chris writes in.
So foreign substances.
If Fox really wanted eyeballs on the Crown, they would play the Final Four outside on the Strip.
Oh,
get crazy with it. F1 closes the Strip down for a week. The Crown could do it.
What if they played
it without?
Remember
closing
when Michigan State and North Carolina played on an aircraft carrier?
Yeah.
What if they did that? There's an aircraft like the NCAA tournament, but they all put
make it a bigger deal.
They all put the teams on different
Henderson.
battleships. There's 4 different battleships, and then they all play on all the different aircraft carriers, and then they come together on the one big aircraft carrier.
They end in a song and dance routine. There's 4 teams together.
TC on the Stream has a headline that you did not see in the World Herald or the Journal Star today, or on Corn Nation. Everybody back down off Corn Nation guy off of John. They got a little sideways last week about funding Nebraska basketball, dropping Nebraska basketball.
Yeah, making it a club basketball team.
Yeah, that didn't go well.
Did they get canceled or are they still around?
I think they're still around.
John's a good guy. That's a good site. I like that site.
That
conversation was crazy.
He's still kicking.
Okay. This is a headline that you would not see there, the Journal Star, the World Herald, or on 1620thezone.com. TC has Beaver got cornholed.
Great headline.
Love it.
Great headline.
Love it.
New York Post.
I was about to say New York Post. That's exactly.
I was great at headline writing. So I
New York Times too. I mean, that is quite incredible.
One of the things I enjoyed being back on the East Coast in Providence is every day I walked to Dunkin' a couple of miles away to get a
coffee.
It was a Dunkin' and an AM/PM. They had the Post, and it was great. I got the Post. I love the Post. The Post still carries box scores.
That's great.
There are very few newspapers in this country that, in the physical copy, carry box scores, but the Post still does.
I went back.
They love me a long time.
I went
and
back.
You got the front page and the back page.
Went back to my local diner. I was sitting down with my father. We were having pancakes and bacon, and I go, "Oh, let me go and grab the Sun Times." It's the diner that I have been going to my entire life. So I walk out, and there used to be this big old box, right? This blue box that was right out there. You just had to, insert your quarter, turn the key, you grab it. I've been doing it since I was a little kid because I would grab it for him. Go out there, no box anymore.
No.
They took the box away.
Yeah, very few newspaper boxes.
So then I walk back
They're
in.
no longer
I walk
teaching
back
reading
in the diner. I go, "You guys have a Times or you have anything I can read?" And they go, "We have a real estate property that you can read about in Wisconsin."
Oh.
So
highlights for children.
They say, you know what? Read the paper on your phone.
Apparently, there's a beautiful 3-bed, 2-bath on Watoma in Watoma, Wisconsin. That's able for purchase if you want to go and look.
Let's talk during the break.
It's a nice little area in Wisconsin.
Jimmy's looking to retirement.
Yeah.
Half the show's going to retire.
Watoma's nice. Watoma, Wisconsin. Nice and secluded.
All right, there was a win this weekend. Heinrich Harburg. You guys are familiar with him?
I've heard of him before.
So a little bit of a work in progress at tight end. We haven't talked much about the tight ends, but if you want to dig deep into Nebraska's bodies in the tight end room, it would kind of make you go, whoa, because you have Luke Lindenmeyer.
Yes.
Then you have Heinrich Harburg, who is making the transition, who has to make the transition from just being utilized like he was in the Pinstripe Bowl, which I really liked his utilization.
Me too.
H-back, they moved him around, but is he going to be able to be the guy that puts his hand in the dirt and blocks? He's going to have to run routes that are longer than 10 yards. All of that stuff and learning how to be a tight end. Then after that, it gets a little bit...
I think it's intriguing. I think it gets intriguing.
There's very little, if any, sample size of the people in that room outside of the two guys that I've mentioned. But with that said, if that's the case, which it appears to be, you would be like, oh my gosh, we're in trouble. But we haven't really talked about the tight end room. We're thinking like Harburg is going to cure all in 12 personnel. It's going to be a Lindy and a Heinrich.
Yes.
That are going to take care of everything, and Nebraska is going to be fine. And that may be the case. But it's definitely a work in progress. And Heinrich Harburg, the one thing about this football team this year, there's a lot of fascinating people. Like, I think Dana Holgorsen is one of the most interesting people around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
not boring.
He's interesting on the good side compared to Dr. Wackadoodle, who was in charge of the quarterbacks.
Sure.
Okay? Holgorsen is like a man of many cloths, a man that is well-traveled, a man that can tell stories, a man that all I need you to do is call ball on Saturdays. Okay, Nebraska's been lacking the offensive coordinator that can adjust and call ball during the games. Mm-hmm. Just do that, please. They also have Harburg, so a converted quarterback at tight end who may end up being Taysom Hill in the NFL, but super likable guy. He stuck around. He's a Nebraska kid. He may have a modeling career.
No way.
So
a hand model?
Hold on here.
A hand model?
So this is where the victory of the weekend comes for Heinrich Harburg. I don't take joy in couples breaking up. Okay. I've been through it before. Okay.
Only if you benefit.
I got divorced and I wasn't real public about it. Like, people in my office that I worked with didn't know I'd gotten divorced for like 5 months because I didn't say anything.
I respect that.
And I'm glad that they really liked me because they're like, hey, I don't see Amy at the ballpark. There's a reason why. She's not legally allowed here by the state of Florida. No, just kidding. Okay. Just kidding. So, I mean, all of us have gone through breakups and, sometimes,
not really.
Sometimes you make it public. Well, you have to have them first.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to, sometimes people make them public.
You put them on Facebook.
I'm on my TikTok last night.
Uh-oh.
By the way, big week for TikTok. Saturday, we might lose TikTok again.
What is going on? What is happening?
You know what? I've caught up on more shows. I have been introduced to The Pit.
Our family can't take many more
I keep
hits.
seeing that on Twitter.
On TikTok. Yeah. Like, I'm going to White Lotus and Righteous Gemstones. I've been like TikTok, and I'm like, okay, I got to watch this. So the Pit has been the one that has been on my TikTok. So I'm on my TikTok yesterday.
Sure.
And you know what pops up?
What pops up?
This is kind of sad. I don't take any joy in this, but there is a new ranking of power couples in the state of Nebraska.
Okay, give it to me.
Heinrich Harburg and Harper Murray are the number one couple.
Without a doubt.
Hell yes.
Now, they also might have a co-modeling career.
Damn.
Harper Murray is in great demand outside of her volleyball.
Like
she went to the Super Bowl and spoke. Like brands want to attach themselves with Harper Murray.
Jackson.
I did not know that.
I think her and Heinrich are going to become like models. I think they're going to model on site.
I think that maybe Harper. I don't know if Heinrich Harburg would
Harburg's a
become
good-looking guy. Tight end body.
Maybe if he ends
tight end body with
he's
a
got to
quarterback
shave the
look.
goatee. I don't think the goatee
Low
and the
BMI,
spiky hair
college
is
athlete.
really
Gotta look
model stuff. He's got to get more of a chiseled jawline. It's all about the jawline in modeling. It's all about have you ever mogged before?
What?
This is
Did
mogging
you say
right here.
mod?
Mogged.
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 Oh.
You got to
I
mog.
have never mogged.
You never mogged?
I've never
This is mogging.
shagged.
It's
I've
like,
never mogged.
You gotta put your tongue at the
Hell,
top
I've never
of your-
blogged.
You never blogged before? Never vlogged?
Where would I vlog or blog?
You can vlog right now. You can take out your phone.
He's
and vlog
hosting
you
a
on the
radio show.
I'm kind of busy
guys.
right now. I'm trying to tell you something that happened on my TikTok that was sad.
You can vlog.
It was sad.
You can vlog your morning routine of when you put your Saratoga water into your bowl and you dip your face into it. And have you seen that guy?
Yeah, it's on TikTok.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You can be
I
that
ain't doing
guy.
that.
former Alcorn State running back. He's not. He can't be a model. He would have to shave the goatee and get a better job.
I think Harper and Heinrich are going to be models, but they have taken over the role of the power couple because I got some sad news to relay. Because this is where you come for your relationship advice and an update on who's going where. We don't have like a super group of power couples in the state.
No, not really.
But unfortunate news. And I don't know, maybe because she's out there and she lets people into her life and they're very, people know who they are because they're both well known and they're very good at their craft. Allie Batenhorst went on TikTok yesterday and said her and Baylor are done. And she said, no hard feelings. It's just long distance. Hey, I've done long distance before. It's tough. But they said long distance, they're in their career, things that are going on, and they made the decision to break up. So she's doing this TikTok in her car here in Omaha. By the way, she's playing really well for the Supernovas. So yeah, she goes through, like her and Baylor and, and said, it's, we've broken up. We wish each other the best. And I was like, oh, did you have to tell everybody? But she did explain it. I give her credit. She explained why, because, they weren't trying to hide their relationship and they were out there. And so people are like, oh man, I love you and Baylor being together. But she went on TikTok. And then after I got done watching the video and I'm like, darn, they're both two really good people. I'm like, Harper and Heinrich are back in the number one slot.
Well, I thought
because Baylor was there because he's starting to ball with the Celtics. So he has Harburg beat.
I had Harper and Heinrich one, Allie and Baylor two. For me though, I mean, see ya, Allie and Baylor. Hello, Bergen and Cale Jacobson, right into the 2 slot. Congratulations to
We
that.
need Matt's big board for this.
No, I do not have a big board of college relationships and power couples within Nebraska. That would
called content.
No, I'm not E News. Okay, I like to watch Sports Center.
It would be called Z News.
I don't like to watch TMZ, but she has to. Here's the thing, though. She definitely has to.
These are
because
ideas.
I've had these conversations with people like who are my age, who women who are really interested in these athletes' love lives, and they are all
That's
invested.
women Monday at 8:30.
Was that a pregnant pause before you mentioned women?
No pun intended.
Oh, big time. They are very invested in like who Allie is dating and who Harper is dating and the volleyball team and their lives and their TikToks and whatnot. And so it is kind of important to not even a niche group of people. Like I think it's a rising capacity of people who really care about the love lives of volleyball players and whatnot. So I think she needs to address it because her fans want to hear it.
I think we got 5 ideas.
It was
out
a
of this segment for you alone.
really good video that she started off with a serious tone, and I'm like, oh my God, she's leaving the Supernovas. And she said, Baylor and I are, at different points in our life. It was like really, it's kind of sad, but it was like, oh, it's very mature to say we're going to move on. So we have a new ranking in the power couple.
Who's third? Is there even like a third you can think of? Now that Stephen Ashworth and Ryan Kalkbrenner are no longer with Creighton?
Well, Kalkbrenner got married, so I put him.
He's off the market.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that's like
Steven's off the market too.
Hey, him and Rachel, they were rolling with the number one power couple.
Okay.
Also because I like Rachel's dad, Mike, who I shared a flight with, and we talked Iowa football.
That's awesome.
So there you go. That's why you come to the show, to get updated on
and now
all of the relationship.
They're going to take it away again.
Over under if
what
they
are
get
we
back
going to
together?
do?
I mean, they've already broken up once.
No, I don't think so. She was like, they're just different points in their professional lives. And he's running out of eligibility, so he can't come back and play for Mac.
6.5.
Evan Bland will join us next. What in the heck happened at Haymarket Park this weekend?
A renaissance, a resurrection.
But they could have a 5-0 week. Creighton tomorrow night. Rain's going to be an issue. Omaha on Wednesday. And then the Scarlet Knights come to town. If they go 5-0, are we back?
We're so back. We are so back if they go 5-0. I think we're already back, if we're being honest.
That's the fandom of Nebraska. You're like, you're out one day, you're back in.
I think I'm out. They pull me back in.
Evan Bland from the World Herald will join us next. All right, weather permitting, tomorrow night, Nebraska and Creighton meet for the first time. Creighton is playing really well. They got shut out yesterday in their last game down in Birmingham against Samford, but they won 2 of 3. They had won 5 in a row prior to that. They're 17-6. They got a nice RPI. Nebraska's RPI got a boost, winning 2 out of 3 against Oregon State. Weather permitting tomorrow night, Nebraska and Creighton and Lincoln. We welcome in somebody who had a front row seat to try and figure out what happened Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and yesterday afternoon. Evan Bland of the World Herald. Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Hey, I'm just going to hit you with this right out of the box. Evan, make it make sense what I saw this weekend and who Nebraska baseball is.
I mean, I don't know that anybody can at this point. You go out on Friday, and it looked kind of routine. Like they took the lead, and they kept it, and Will Walsh was acting like it was the Big Ten tournament, and
he was.
And they win that thing. And then Saturday, you get absolutely clubbed. 8 home runs, maybe the most home runs Nebraska's given up in a game, at least this century, maybe ever. And then you get run ruled, and then you come back and you rally multiple times from a deficit. And the offense, which has been in the bottom 20% of college baseball all year, has a 9-run 7th inning, all with 2 outs when 11 straight guys reach. And they figure it out. So, Nebraska's had a few of these moments when they beat Vanderbilt, when they rallied against USC, and then they've kind of fallen flat after that. And so here's Nebraska again, coming off of a series win over a top 5 Oregon State team that's been to Omaha and won College World Series. And we'll see how they respond. But man, what a weekend! I think it was just it was kind of like what Nebraska felt like it could be before the season. And Oregon State's legitimate program. They're still rolling. That was the first losing weekend they'd had. It was the first winning weekend Nebraska had. So again, they've shown flashes at times. The fascinating part for me now is, can they bottle up what they just did and carry that forward?
Evan, I have to ask you, I mean, you've covered the team for a long time. Is there a year or a season or another team in the past that had a similar path like this in terms of having a lot of expectations and hype around them, kind of losing out, but then now, getting off to a bad start, but then now kind of turning it around and then having a good end to the season? Or are they kind of on their own path right now?
Oh, I mean, the 2014 team closed strong. That was a team that figured things out as it went along. But I mean, I've heard people compare this group to the 22 team that was picked to win the Big Ten, and that was coming off that big regional year. But I think it's a lot different, because that was a group that largely was resetting its key pieces. I mean, it had a couple young guys in Bryce Matthews and Max Anderson who were sophomores on that team, but like the guts of that leadership group had left. This is not really the same. I mean, you lose Brett Sears and Josh Caron, who were great players, but most of the lineup was back. There was depth on the pitching staff. You had guys who tore it up in summer ball who came in ready to roll, and it either hasn't coalesced consistently, or you've had injuries, like with McConaughey going down and Tucker Timmerman, who was supposed to be one of your ace bullpen arms. It looks like he could be on the verge of coming back here maybe as soon as this week. So it's kind of its own situation. And what was so big about that Oregon State series was the RPI boost that it did get. I mean, it went from about 125 to 75. Wow. And so like that's a huge difference into April, where suddenly you're not out of that at-large conversation. And then certainly the discussion has to start with the Big Ten. You're still tied for last in the Big Ten. You have a lot of work to do there, but you're facing sort of your traditional Big Ten schedule now. Nebraska's gotten through the Pac-12 portion of its slate to this point, and it's come out the other side with a chance. And so I think that's kind of where it is. And if it can do what it's done in the Big Ten in recent years, I think there's absolutely a path to climb back in it. And they really just kind of started to show they could do it, obviously, this weekend in a really loud way.
Yeah, I think the first 10 games out of the box beginning tomorrow night will kind of drive us towards where this team is going to go, because they have Creighton twice. They have the trip up here on Wednesday and the rescheduled game against Omaha. Rutgers comes in. Then the next weekend, they have to go to Iowa, and Iowa is playing really well in conference. And then, oh, by the way, what is the big boost is going to end up being our friends from the Sunflower State. Kansas is playing really well. They're third in the Big 12, and then Kansas State is 8-1 in the Big 12. KU in Lawrence on April 8th. But with that said, as we've gone through a frustrating season, and I watched this weekend, and you can see bits and pieces of, man, this is what this team was supposed to be capable of doing. They are, and then they aren't. We're going to talk about that bottom of the seventh yesterday for a long time. But can you walk me through, as you've observed him now for a while, and now trying to navigate stuff he says about this team, what is the dynamic like between Will and this team? Because he goes from Saturday, which was, I mean, come on, you can't get run ruled at home. I don't care if they're number 5 team in the country or not. Uses the word abysmal on the mound. To yesterday, players are talking about, hey, we're doing it for each other, the love of each other. Max comes up, hits the pinch hit home run. So he hasn't lost the clubhouse. But what do you think that dynamic is like, how Will's trying to walk that line with a team that knows they should be better than, 12 and 15?
I mean, I think it helps that it's an older team and that they've been through this before. Like if this were a reset and there were a bunch of, freshmen and newcomers and things, maybe it's a little bit of a different situation. But like most of these guys know what it takes to win at a high level. They won a Big Ten tournament title and they went to a regional, and I think they all expected to be better than this. So in some ways, Will Bolt, the coach, is kind of like Will Bolt, the player, would have been, where he's like, yeah, that kind of sucked. Like we can do better than that. That's we have it in us to be better than that. I think the players respond to that. This group in particular responds to that, and he hasn't minced words all season. I mean, post games, on other disappointing weekends, he's been very obvious and blunt about some of the struggles that they've had. And I think the guys tend to respond to that, and they have these post game huddles out in left field, and you can tell sometimes like he's going to get after them on the rough days, and he's in there celebrating with them on the better days. And it's just about kind of finding that consistency day to day. I thought he had a good point after one of the games this weekend about how, they were on the road for 11 days, 10 days in hotels, and they didn't get a practice like at all. Maybe they got in one practice at some kind of off-site area. So to come back and have 2 straight days to just sort of reset and focus on what you need to focus on offensively, get back to that kind of aggressive approach. So that made a difference. And so we'll see how that carries over, right? I mean, history says when Nebraska comes home and plays games at Haymarket Park, they can get rolling a little bit, and the bats can heat up, and they can build some momentum. And I think we saw a reminder of why it's hard to get ranked opponents to come into Nebraska, because it is hard with the crowd and the weather that played into it and everything. But I think Will has a good sense of what this team is, what drives this team, the way that they recruit players. They try to find guys, I think, that are pretty like-minded to this coaching staff that wants to grind and tries to take that marathon baseball mentality. So I think he's pretty locked in that way. And again, we'll see. Like he said, like if you lay an egg this week and you have a losing record this week, then what was last weekend for ultimately. So you got to carry it forward. But just that proof of concept, I think, was really important for the players, and obviously Will Bolt was pretty excited about it too.
You had 2 local Lincoln guys who had massive homers yesterday in the win. One of them, Max Budenbach, who he started the year in the lineup, didn't get off to the start he was hoping for. And then, around mid-March, he, just kind of came into a reserve role, pinch hitting, but had a massive 3-run home run yesterday. On top of that, has had hits in his last couple of at-bats. Do you think that he's a guy who will see himself get reinserted back into the regular everyday lineup? And have you seen anything different in terms of his approach from his last couple at-bats at the beginning of the year?
You're talking about Max?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's settled in. He was the guy who just tore up the Northwoods League over the summer. He was in the 2-hole to start the season for Nebraska, got off to kind of a cold start. But yeah, I mean, he's had some big hits for them as things have gone along. And just kind of one of those kids who I think he just doesn't shrink from the moment. Like, I don't think you could just pinch hit anybody in that spot where they did with Max, where Nebraska had just taken the lead. Ty Stone delivered the big hit, and then they bring in Beatenback to keep things moving. I mean, that was still a big spot in the game where you're only up one into the later innings. And I mean, first pitch, you said, Coach Bolt said, hey, look for the fastball in. So he locked in on that, and boom, popped that thing out to right. So I think he's got the mentality that Nebraska wants to have on offense, where you say, I'm gonna hunt the fastball, I'm gonna hunt the pitch that I want, and I'm gonna swing at it and be athletic about it and all those things. And so I mean, he's gonna have he's gonna be in that conversation for sure, whether that's as a DH, whether that's in the outfield, which is kind of where they envisioned him being before the season. And a year ago, he was their number 3 catcher too. So he has some versatility. He's still just a sophomore. So my hunch would be at this point, he's going to be a guy whose role will probably be similar to what we saw this weekend, coming off the bench, an occasional start. But it certainly doesn't mean his career can't still go big places for Nebraska. He's going to be one of those guys back next year who's going to have some experience, a track record, and a lot of positional versatility. So I think he'll be a key piece this year, and probably even a bigger one next year.
Evan Bland of the World Herald joining us. Let's shift over to football. And you got to watch the open portion of practice in week number 1. So there's a lot of new guys that all of our eyes go towards. I'm going to hopefully learn more about Kenneth Williams as the week goes on. And he's an obscure guy that shows up in spring, and you're like, okay, tell me more. But I want to ask you about an older guy, and I mean an older guy. He's now in his 7th year. And Javin Wright was out working, and I think people that know his story last year, he barely practiced, but he would be able to play on Saturdays because they were trying to keep him healthy. If he has a full runway, what do you think his contribution looks like in this defense at his position?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the key. So certainly, if he can stay healthy and get through this thing, then I think he brings unique versatility in that linebacker spot and toward the back end. Like, you think about sort of your traditional linebacker contributors, it's going to be Vincent Shavers, it's going to be Marquise Watson-Trent, and I think Wright could fit into that piece. He could also, with his skill set, be something similar to what Isaac Gifford was last year as a rover, who has that ability to drop into coverage against a team's number 2 or number 3 receiver or whatever it might be. So I think that part's really interesting. And when you look at what Nebraska is going to do as far as tinkering with that 3-3-5 and kind of make it its own thing under John Butler and Phil Snow and Matt Rule, like, you have a guy like Wright who's out there. I mean, it's hard for an opposing offense to know where he's going to be, what he's going to do. Like, the institutional knowledge he has is really high. It's always just been about health for him, and he's chronicled his injuries through the years. But if he can come out there and give them steady snaps and be a mainstay on the field for them, yeah, I think that's the most interesting thing to me, is like just that ability as a chess piece to move around and contribute in different ways. And I think he's a really strong leader too. Like, you talk about kind of candidates to be those to be a single digit guy. I mean, Javin Wright, who better than that? Someone who's lived and breathed Nebraska football for a long time, through a lot of struggles. Could have left, could have retired, been done with football, but it meant enough to him to come back and roll this thing back again. So definitely a key piece for the team from an intangible standpoint, but I think just as much, like, his skill set that's pretty unique to what they have on that side. It's going to allow them to do some different things.
The Emmett Johnson's involvement in the pass game and him becoming a weapon, how much of a ceiling raiser is that for you in terms of what this offense can accomplish?
Well, I mean, I think it's part of the discussion for Nebraska's ongoing journey to find a feature back and a guy that they feel like can be on the field for every down and be reliable and be a workhorse. And they just haven't had a ton of that. Even the guys that have been pretty good for them, like Dedrick Mills or Divine Zigbo, like, weren't necessarily threats to catch the ball very often. And so if you have a guy, like Emmett Johnson, who can be versatile in that way, who is a reliable pass blocker, who has shown certainly of late the ability to be healthy and stay on the field,
Mm-hmm.
I think that all could play into it. And plus, we just don't really know what the guys behind him can do. We haven't seen a ton of Quentin Ives outside of the Pinstripe Bowl. They like Mekhi Nelson, but that's been sort of behind the scenes thing. Jamarian Parker and Connor Booth are true freshmen who have great track records in high school, but we don't know how that is going to translate. So I think it all starts with Emmett Johnson at that position, where he can go between the tackles, he can catch a swing pass in space and make a guy miss. He can be involved in the screen game. And all that's going to be even more important in this Holgorsen offense, where sometimes you're probably going to have to pass to set up the run, and you're trying to get the ball to your playmakers to let them cook and do their thing. So, I think it's important for his own personal development. I think Holgorsen identified that when he dropped into Nebraska last November. I mean, you saw the usage rate for Emmett Johnson spike in that way once he got here. And I think that's a testament to his skill set and also for how Nebraska sees him fitting in this attack in 2025.
Yeah, great stuff. Evan, as always, we appreciate it. Great start to the week. I know you'll be busy with baseball and mixing a little bit football. We appreciate the time as always.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Evan.
Evan Bland from the World Herald. So Kenneth Williams is a name. Somebody, one of our media friends was at practice the other day. He was just going through names because I was asking him questions. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I was really surprised by Kenneth Williams. And I went, who? Well, then he goes, from Lincoln High. I was like, Kenneth Williams, the track star? So Jalen Lloyd's last state track and field championship, the top three finishers were Jalen Lloyd, Kenneth Williams, who is from Lincoln High, and then Isaiah McMorris. And he's like, yeah, that's the guy. He kind of stood out. And I'm said, okay, that's my guy for the spring. He might not show up in the fall. He might not be on the roster in the fall.
Yeah.
But Kenneth Williams is now one of the names in spring that we will latch on to. And we're like, because he played special teams.
So he had, it says
when he
here,
gets UTEP, and then he carried the ball one time.
Yeah, he had a 5-yard carry against UTEP and then a 23-yard kickoff return in the Pinstripe Bowl against BC. Ran a 10.52 100-meter dash in the Class A state championships. Pretty damn fast. And you know what? I'm looking up and down this roster. There's a lot of speed on this roster. And I'm more speed than maybe we're accustomed to, and I'm very, very happy about it. Very happy about it.
Kenneth Williams. Welcome.
He popped.
I did have. I do remember the the kickoff return against Boston College. So they list his hometown as Detroit. I mean, come on, we got it. Let's give the Lynx some credit.
I was about to say. I mean, it says down here though, Lincoln High gets their credit down low.
Jacob Bigalow coming up next. All right, Final Four in San Antonio. It is chalk on the Riverwalk. Duke and Houston, by the way, will be the highest combined Ken Palm ratings ever for a game. Going to be a banger.
Awesome.
4.5-point favorite is Duke against Houston. Florida's a 2.5-point favorite against Auburn with the uncertainty of Broom, if he'll be able to have an arm available for the game. Jacob Bigalow joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, boys. How's it going?
Good. How was the move?
The move was good. Not the best weekend for it weather-wise, but we got it done. We got it out of the way. I know some people saw me say I was moving, and they're like, "Are you? Where are you moving to?" And they thought I was, headed elsewhere. I'm still here. I just, breaking news. Source confirms I am still here. So.
Okay.
Are you? How's the back? How's the knees? Is there anything hurting this morning, or do we have a sprained wrist? I mean, is there any issues?
No ailments.
Wow,
no
injuries.
Give it a few years.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that roaring endorsement of my physical state. But no, aside from seasonal allergies, no ailments today.
Okay.
Yeah, hey, I'm with you because I used to have hay fever really bad, and then as I got older, it disappeared. It has come back nonstop, like in the last 2 weeks. So I'm glad that you cleared up that it's not just, I got an issue or something, that it's allergies. There's a lot of pollen in the air, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Too much pollen. Entirely too much pollen.
How do we get rid of that pollen in the air? You got a solution?
I don't.
Less weather balloons?
I'm not. Yeah, they're trying their hardest.
Spray?
That's the idea, but no. I don't know what the recipe would be. If I was as corny as some people think I am, I would have responded with, "There's so much pollen in the air, but there should be college basketball crown fever in the air." But I am not that corny. I don't know the solution to get rid of the pollen.
Okay, on that note, do you think that the stuff that they spray in bowling shoes is the most powerful thing ever?
Yes, by far.
It's up there for sure, and I don't think it's been talked about enough. I'm thankful you've brought this to the forefront of the discourse on this fine Monday morning. Yeah, no, whatever they spray in the bowling shoes, I mean,
could
people have been trying. Yeah, they've been trying to do like deodorant. People are still, going Degree or Old Spice or whatever. None of that, holds a candle to whatever it is that the bowling alleys have a monopoly on to, spray in those shoes.
You know what? Jimmy, you brought up COVID.
Yes,
like, I'm
people
surprised that the fine operators of bowling alleys, they just didn't say, "Hey, all of that stuff you have that you spray in the shoes, that is like the most powerful stuff ever.
Spray in your
just
face.
go outside.
We got the stuff.
Just go outside and when they spray for mosquitoes, let's just walk around the neighborhood just spraying that stuff in the air to kill COVID."
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that was not suggested, because there were a lot of stuff that was suggested back in the day, if you recall.
There'd be
this
way
makes
more
more
coughing
sense.
during COVID if that were the case.
Yeah. All right. On that note, because I'm sensing that you do not want to talk about your move. So
I mean, there's not much to talk about.
Yeah.
So
do you have you used to have knuckleheads that the way they parked in your parking lot? Is it more secure?
Yeah.
Like, are you in a place that there's never been a murder?
As far as I know, there has never been.
Okay, you can look that up. There's a website.
I'm gonna.
Probably
doubt.
should have done it before you moved into the
seance?
place.
I think I'm gonna doubt that there's been a murder where I moved to.
Say hello to Mom and
That
Dad.
may just be my own personal bias. No, not doing that. But.
Okay. So Michigan State loses yesterday. They maxed out that roster. Did not have a first or second team all-conference guy. Probably there were a couple other teams that were built to go longer in the tournament, but Michigan State made it all the way to the Elite Eight. But that's now 25 years in a row that the Big Ten has not won a conference or a national championship in basketball. Is that stat overrated when it comes to talking about the Big Ten?
It's 50-50. It definitely, we live in a town where people want to take credit for, national championships over the last X amount of years when the conference they're in was completely different. So, conference cheering and conference rooting, it has a mind of its own. It's a Big Ten, basketball, the Big Ten basketball thing. It's going to be like, it's the scarlet letter for the league in hoops as long as it carries on. I almost got the sense that like Big Ten teams like performing well through the first couple of weeks was a part of why people were like, this sucks, this is boring, because they weren't like able to bag on the Big Ten and be like, well, there's no Big Ten teams again, ha ha ha. But like they still held their own for the most part. All the Big Ten teams that made it to the second weekend got knocked out by one seeds or two seeds. I think I forget what the because Michigan lost to Auburn, Michigan State lost to Auburn, and Purdue lost to Houston. And was there a fourth Big Ten team? I forget. That tells you how locked in I was. But I think that's kind of my comparison for it. It's kind of it's the scarlet letter on the league until something changes.
But should it be? I mean, this is a conference that was built on football. We make it sound like the Big Ten is this incredible basketball conference. Now, they have had opportunities, and some teams have come up short that are really, really good. The Big Ten has won 3 national titles in college basketball since 1987. Indiana in 87, Michigan 2 years later, and then Michigan State in 2000. That's the history of basketball in the Big Ten. Yeah. It's a football conference with a commissioner that is a football guy. It would be great to be all encompassing.
Everything's football brand, though, Gary.
Yes.
Like we're sitting here in Omaha, Nebraska, talking about college basketball when there are people employed by your radio station that have been itching to talk about spring practice for the last 2 weeks because they think that's relevant and that's what needs to be talked about in the month of March. The Big Ten wants
Jesus,
Jacob.
Wow.
The Big Ten the Big Ten wants to pride itself on hoops. Like, yeah, it's a football conference. Yeah, it's football. But I mean, it's always like it's not like they're some like haphazard, half-assed, basketball conference. They care. There are a ton of schools in this league that care, and that's why that's why it's discussed this time of year. Yeah, my apologies for people who want to talk about spring practice in March for a football team that'll be lucky to win 8 games next year. My apologies.
Are you on that show?
No.
No.
And if he was, he won't be.
All right.
No. Not invited back.
No.
Jimmy and John are great people.
No, I mean it's football season. It's March. Crimea River. Like, it's not football season. It's the spring. There are other things to talk about other than a mediocre college football program that wants to pretend like it's nationally relevant. Give me a break.
All right, so Huskers Illustrated will not be sending you down to practice this week. Okay.
Oh, jeez. I'll ask you a basketball question just to stay safe. I don't want to feel the wrath of Bigalow. Hey, there's one coach in this pod, I guess, or this Final Four, that has had an incredible amount of success with a program that he took over that beforehand hadn't had a lot of success, and that's Kelvin Sampson in Houston. Before Sampson took over at Houston, they had made it to one NCAA tournament since 1992. Now, they've gone 8 straight years where they haven't had double-digit losses. They've made a Final Four. Now their second Final Four. They've made multiple Sweet 16, Elite Eights, all that stuff. If Kelvin Sampson wins and Houston wins the national championship, is it safe to say that he should be considered the best coach in college basketball?
I don't know about the best coach in college basketball. I think he is still criminally underrated and underappreciated, and I think he has not gotten nearly enough, nearly enough love nationally for what he's done at Houston since he's got there. I think he's like the ultimate, like, if hoop heads have always think the world of Kelvin Sampson, and then the people who maybe come in late, they're like, well, I gotta learn something about these teams at the NCAA tournament. They're like, oh, there's Houston again. But what Kelvin Sampson's done at Houston, they came straight into the Big 12, and they've won it 2 straight years. They're back in the Final Four. It's been quite the run for him at Houston, and they were my pick before the tournament started, and I would love to see him add a national championship to a pretty already impressive resume for an impressive basketball life.
Jacob Bigalow, who is just starting all kinds of fires this morning. joins us.
It's always on our show, too, that he decides to start the fires.
Yeah, do you do this when you're with Happer?
He doesn't crap talk anybody or, like, throw any shots to anyone when he's on with Happer. But with us, apparently this is when you get to free ball a little bit. You get to throw out your discretions toward people.
I'm sorry. Would you rather I not be authentically myself?
I kind of love it.
Would you rather I want to blow sunshine about some third string linebacker who looks good in drills for 20 minutes and pretend like he's going to contribute? Like,
Gabe Stinger actually looked really good, but continue on. I'm not being honest.
Yeah, sure. No, sure thing. No, if you want to get sold a bill of goods about the state of that program, I know a guy who gets paid multiple millions to do it, and I'm sure he'll talk to the media this week. So he'll gladly, give you the pyramid scheme sales pitch.
All right, so you need something positive with male sports. Talk about it in Nebraska. How about that Mark Manning? No, on a different note. Let's stick with basketball. Give me the sales pitch or the mindset if you're Price Sanford and you have Nebraska and Iowa. What your skill set does at one place, what your skill set does at a whole new style at a place you're more familiar with. How does Nebraska bring this one home to add a three-point shooter to Fred's offense for 25-26?
Yeah, I mean I think he's kind of the perfect fit for both places, both the offenses that are going to get that are going to be ran by both Fred Hoiberg and Ben McCollum. I mean the Iowa thing, it appears to be the ultimate refresh, reset button, top to bottom from what it's been under Fran and going into the Ben McCollum era. And the shooters are always going to be sought after in that offense and how it runs. I'm sure part of the sales pitch from McCollum to Price may involve some clips of Ryan Hawkins. And I'm not saying they're the similar roles of guys who can shoot, come off screens, get good shots, and thrive in his system. For Nebraska, it's kind of we could have used you out of high school, and it's still kind of the similar. Like we've been searching for someone with your skill set, your frame, your game to come into this offense, for the last couple years. So it's really similar. It's two really good fits, and I know he's kind of the only for sure player Nebraska's been linked to that there's confirmed there was visit and all that sort of thing. But it's definitely he definitely is a puzzle piece that would fit in both places, and Iowa is they're putting the full court press on to try to retain guys that went into the portal.
So, rev share is at least we've been told is coming. I mean, we still need to figure out come July 1st what the actual improvements are and how it's going to work and everything. But for the most part, we know that it's on the way. And a lot of basketball programs out there, especially the ones in the Big Ten and the SEC, know that they're going to have to play second fiddle to football, and that they're going to have to claw and scratch for as much of the pie as they possibly can to continue to be competitive. But there's one conference out there that doesn't have to deal with that, and that's the Big East. And I know that the Big East, they're not going to make as much revenue because they don't have football. Football is such a big part of that, and they don't have that. But at the same time, basketball will be on the forefront of those colleges' minds, right? Do you think that Big East jobs, top to bottom, are now more attractive and more valuable, and coaches want to go there now more because they know they're going to have their hands on the wheel when it comes to rev share?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely it's a case by case, job by job. The rev share is going to be there, but still not all those jobs are created equally.
Sure.
But I think they definitely are going to have more. They're going to have more appeal than previous, for sure. And like you said, there's not going to be the question of resources. There's not going to be the question of is the school more worried about attempting to weekend at Bernie's a football program than giving some resources to other sports. So that's not going to be a question in the Big East moving forward.
Wow. Hey, 70% of the revenue sharing is going to go to football in Nebraska. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I mean, hey, giving all the attention and resources to football, it's done wonders for the last 20 years. It's really worked well. I'm sure, attempting to play Big 12 football in the Big 10 for the second time this decade will go swimmingly. I'm sure I'm expecting it'll be great. Give me all the Kool-Aid for sure.
Who hurt you?
Yeah.
No, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Just curious. You're very angry. You're very angry.
You sound like me. I'm in a good mood.
Nebraska's a 5-1 favorite to win the crown.
No, it's not my job to carry water and sell false hope. So that's not what I'm here to do.
All right,
my apologies.
Look forward to sharing the press box at Arrowhead with you coming up in August. Hey, different note, because I'm interested in your perspective because you follow the program and you know the pieces at Omaha. So Chris Crutchfield has an extension. There were 2 very serious opportunities for him in the last week in the coaching cycle, but he's not done here, and this place means a lot to him. And, also his wife is from here, and her family lives here. So he signs an extension. We do know that he'll be back for the next year. I think it's even more important that his entire staff will be back because they don't get enough credit. I think Crutch's staff is really, really good in recruiting, evaluating, developing, all of those things in-game. But now that you've gone to the NCAA tournament, and I know my answer is, but I'm a little biased. The expectations have been raised to what for Omaha men's basketball under Chris Crutchfield moving forward?
I think it's I think it's to be going to Sioux Falls, and I think if you want to be going to Sioux Falls wearing a white jersey and think you've got a chance to make a run, and whether you're and I think whether that it's not saying you have to be the top seed and win the league every year, and I'm not saying they're going to be a dynasty in the Summit League, but I think it's you're the first jersey out of the bag in Sioux Falls is a white jersey, and it's the Summit League, and it's always going to be a one bid league. It's going to come down to who wins that last game there, but I think it's going to always the expectation is you're going to Sioux Falls, and there's a path, and you can see a chance where either you're the favorite to get the bid, or you can make a run and make it interesting when it gets down to that final.
Make your pick. Final 4. Who you got?
I'm still on Houston, and I know that they were the least picked, 1 seed, but I'll stick with that. I was on them before the tournament, and I think that's going to be my pick this weekend.
Their biggest deterrent. Who is it? Duke, or is it who they play in the final?
I think it's probably who they play in the final.
Okay.
But I think if they get, but I also I'm kind of torn. I think it's who they play in the final, but I also think whoever wins Duke Houston would be my pick in the final.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think that it's kind of a mixed bag, but I'm looking forward to that game a lot, to say the least.
All right. Do you have time for a backup quarterback question, or do you just want us to move on?
I mean, it's obvious. I mean, yeah. I mean, I got whatever.
Kidding.
I'm an open book. You can ask me.
I'm kidding.
You can ask me whatever you want, Gary.
Not for air. That's okay. I think you've done enough damage today.
That's for the podcast.
Yeah.
Damage.
Yeah.
Wow.
You put on a gasoline suit and walked into a fire this morning.
Oh no, my apologies.
You were a hurricane today.
It's a Monday. That's I'm just glad
You're wearing a Shedeur Sanders jersey at an 1890 event.
Kindler, gentler Jacob does not exist today.
And I love it.
No,
I'm proud of you.
No, and I apologize if I hurt anyone's feelings.
All because you co-hosted on the Zone.
Yeah, sorry.
This is worse than when Cena turned heel. Bigalow turning heel. I didn't have it on my bingo card.
I thought Morgan Wallen was ticked off that he was in New York City until Jacob was being on 1620 today. That's just how it is.
Hey, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here, and I enjoy chatting with y'all. Sorry that my apologies to fans of Weekend at Bernie's for how I may have offended them this morning.
Terry Kaiser was a KU alum.
149
People
days
don't
for
know
football.
that.
Yeah.
Tone setter.
Yeah. No, let's take these 149 days one day at a time not pretend that anything being said about football in the month of March will be relevant in the fall.
Hey,
for the love of God.
Study Keona Davis and get back to me. All right, my friend?
Yeah.
Hey,
get ready to learn Connor Booth.
Get ready to learn Connor Booth. If we're learning Connor Booth in the fall, then there's going to have to be some speaks. There's going to have to be some speaks if we're learning Connor Booth in the fall.
We're talking about development by the running back coach. That's what we'll be talking about. Thank
that's
you, Jacob.
Yep. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
I feel like in the list of like negative curmudgeons, I'm kind of losing all my thunder here because I'm falling further and further down this list. I'm becoming one of the more cheerful employees.
That was the more memorable Jacob Bigalow interviews.
More memorable. That was the most memorable
that we've had. That was something. You clearly have a stance on where he falls between whether or not he likes basketball or football. He clearly likes basketball more. If you didn't know that already.
Chances he'll ever be a guest on the afternoon show?
0.
Okay.
0. No shot.
Co-hosting?
Couple of quick football notes. Frank Reich has been hired as the head coach at Stanford.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
General Luck.
Andrew Luck goes and gets a former Colts coach.
Yeah, talk about helping out your friends.
I mean, hoping for Jim Morris Sr.
So he will be the interim head coach for this upcoming year as they search for a full-time head coach.
If you want a guy who you like to stabilize a program for a year, I actually really don't think that's that bad of a pick at all. I mean, the guy's a football dude and is pretty, held in high regard amongst the league. And, you don't hear too many people, at least I haven't read too many reports.
You know what they say about
coaches
coaches that get fired in Carolina? They go to college.
Yeah.
It's been proven.
Also, speaking of college, you know what they say about elite players? They go to Columbus. This is
they get paid a lot of money.
Recruiting news. Elite 26 safety Blaine Bradford has just committed to Ohio State. Now, why I bring this up, he is from Baton Rouge.
Oh, what a pull.
Chooses Ohio State over LSU, Oregon, and Texas as the top safety in the country.
That's a bad look for Brian Kelly and that coaching
More
staff
than that
to have
video.
a guy like that in your backyard. And he doesn't only just go to a different school, but he goes to an entirely different conference and someone you're probably going to be competing against in the college football playoff.
Probably just hates high humidity.
Oof.
All right, we're back to pick up the pieces from Jacob's disaster after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, the fallout from that last segment has been pretty intense during the break around the building.
I got a text from somebody who goes, "What crawled up JB's blank this morning? LOL."
Judging by the pain, probably a click beetle, which are common in the South.
Probably a lamp that he forgot to move.
Andy on the stream says Danon's probably having his access tonight as we type. No. Patrick says Bigalow just won the week before 9 a.m.
He might have. He might have just won the week.
Quote, and we didn't even ask about the game tonight.
No.
We didn't even ask about the crown.
We didn't even get to the crown.
Maybe that was by design.
If you wanted to see him mad, you get even more mad after talking about football. You should have asked him about the crown. That would have really
could get more mad.
I don't know. He was really ticked off. He's got some boiled up football anger that I think has been kind of bubbling since his days as a Nebraska basketball manager.
I think it's just
there's been seeds that have been planted in that for a while in terms of Bigelow's just disdain for football, and it has just all boiled over after the consistent coverage of what is his month. I mean, this is Bigelow's month. This is the month of Bigalow.
You created this monster.
I think he got offended. I think he got offended from so much football talk during what is his month. And his month is over.
He'll sleep in May. See, the thing about it is, like, Jacob won't go on any other show and do what he just did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he'll go on with Happer and he'll be like, "Oh yeah."
Should we feel honored or like disrespected? Like,
hell yes, you should.
No, disrespected.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he came in our show and took a crap all over the afternoon show.
Yeah.
Those are our guys.
That's true.
Jacob's one of our guys as well. It's going to be really hard to have a divorce here.
We're going to really have to mend things together after that.
This is from Jerry. Thank you, Jerry, for the email. He said, "Hey, does Bigalow know Husker football pays the bills? Don't know who mistreated him at Nebraska for him to say those sarcastic things about Husker football. Husker football and GBR always." Good thing I didn't ask him about Kenneth Williams.
That would have been the dynamite that set off everything else. I mean, look, it's his month. He wanted to talk basketball. He got offended by football. But I will say this: the Weekend at Bernie's line was a great line.
They're good movies. If you haven't seen them in a while, they're really funny. They're charming. They move quickly.
It's a good one. He went after people that I didn't even know he had problems with.
He seems like he beefs with everybody.
He's got a lot of beef. I feel like this really began with the Michael Severe Best Radio Guest.
It went to
bracket.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a beef with Mitch. I love Mitch.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Jacob and Mitch or Jacob just is like, Jacob is like Auburn basketball. He walks around with this chip on his shoulder that he's the underdog, and he wears that shooting shirt that it's what is the Nike schools that are wearing Under Armour. Dowdus.
It's like, why do you want to Dowdus?
I think that's what Jacob has been wearing for the last month. Dowdus.
I think his shooting shirt says
Is he turning after a couple really good interviews and co-hosting the show? And,
he co-hosted during a blizzard.
Is he becoming the Dan Hurley of 1620 The Zone radio guest? Is he becoming a little bit too big for his britches? A little bit too loud?
I wouldn't say Dan Hurley, because Dan Hurley's got championships, and the last I know, Jacob doesn't. I'm going to defend some people here. I would say that probably Jacob is giving off the vibe of Kevin Willard. A diva that doesn't have the resume, but is very hireable, and people want to hire him.
Yes. Yeah. And people want to be around him. People want to talk about it. And people entrust him. I just don't know if we can. I mean, we're going to have some speaks with him after him going off the rails there. I mean, we have a reputation to show to keep. And
I think you need to drive and
slandering some names and programs on our program.
I've been looking to get the radio beefs going.
Hey.
I thought it would be radio on radio, like Omaha against Lincoln guys.
Sure. We can still do that.
But
you got your beef.
That guy in Lincoln won't bite. Like, he's running scared.
I agree.
And not that I'm like pursuing it.
But apparently I'm a part of his coaching tree.
Oh, yeah?
That's what he claimed.
Congratulations. Maybe we'll have guest against hosts. So I like that. Joey writes in about Big's call. Man, who are you all interviewing, Jimmy?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Bigalow.
I've turned a new leaf, which is remarkable. If you know, you know. I mean, I am happy.
Chris from Colin Baton Rouge. What do you think Tiger Talk is like today down there with T-Bob?
Bobby's hit.
It's
Bobby
loud.
Bear's son is on LSU's ESPN Philly. Does a morning show. Does a great job.
Take that, Steve Walsh.
I bet they are losing their mind that they lost a top safety out of Baton Rouge to Ohio State.
Could they get Saban back at LSU? Does he still have some gas in the tank?
Chris writes in, Bigalow is now my favorite guest of all time. He is the first person that has come on here in 10 years and just said how it really is.
Hey, I want to say this. We've been sans from that. All right. We did not talk a lot of football today. We went everywhere. We talked hockey today. We talked basketball today. We talked baseball today. We talked torpedo bats.
Austin says, sorry, Bigalow, I'd like to know how the third string linebacker looks in week 1 drills.
A lot of people love that. A lot of people
I would
enjoy
too.
that.
There's a lot of linebackers. I'd really like more. Here's what I would like this week on some names, and I don't know if we'll get this, but I'm just looking. Like, I would like to hear about Maverick Noonan more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to hear. I know some of you like the youngins. Okay,
sure.
I like the olderins, which is a new word that I just made up. Like, this would be like a week that I'd kind of like to hear about Quentin Ives. I'd like to hear about.
But we've heard about Quinn and Ives so much.
But you got to understand there, young man, is there are a lot of older guys that haven't played a lot that are going to be the key to the season. We talked about Harburg.
Sure.
Harburg is an older guy who has played a different position, now playing this position. Like Riley Van Poppel might be the equivalent of Harburg on the defensive side. Like older guys that it's their time and it's their time to shine. So I'd like to hear this week about a Sledge, a Majichik.
A Bricks.
I would like to hear about a Bricks. I'd like to hear about Maverick Noonan.
Yeah.
I would, I'd like to hear about the plethora of defensive backs. I'd actually like to hear about some special teams guys.
I would like to hear about Marquise
request.
Watson Trent. Right? He's not a guy that necessarily has been in the program, but he's an older dude who they brought in from the transfer portal. I would like to hear about the fact, is he coming along? Is he blending in well?
He will be okay in the fall. I think it's just a little bit of an adjustment for him, but I think in the fall, like, I wouldn't overreact if he doesn't have a great spring.
I do worry though a little bit about the past linebacker prospects that you've had who did come in, who also didn't have great springs, who then it kind of led to them losing a little bit of momentum and not being as big of a piece as you might have hoped.
But I don't think those guys had as much of a track record. I don't worry about Watson Trent. I just think they're working on some technique stuff with him.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't get mentioned and he gets an award, I'm not going to panic because I expect him to be there in the fall.
Yeah. I do think though, there are specific players, I'm kind of in tune for you. Like one guy I do want to hear about is special teams and a defensive guy, but Andrew Marshall too. I do want to hear, is he coming along? Where is he? Because that next cornerback spot outside of Sierra Wright, right? That's one that's kind of a hole. That's a spot that needs to be filled. That someone needs to come in there and step up. And you got guys like Marquise Buford and you got guys like Malcolm Hartzog who are still around this program who have played in that spot before. But at the same time, it sounds like they're kind of rotating them more out to safety and
well,
they did that last year as well. Like Buford's play safety,
versatile.
Hartzog is safety. But it'll be interesting.
You got 28 guys in that room, man. If you're not versatile, man,
totally
you are going to be put into the portal. You're going to be walked to the portal, and you're going to be like, But I will say this, for the guys that stay, now, Evan Cooper was on a different level in terms of coaching, and he added the relationship. I think just purely from teaching guys how to play safety, cornerback, nickel, anything that's on the back end, this will be the best in 3 years that Nebraska's been coached at that position with their brand new position coach and Phil Snow. So Phil Snow basically is a co-defensive back coach. So the defensive backs in terms of technique and knowing their job and doing their job will be coached better than they've been in the previous 2 years. And that includes a guy, because I don't think John Butler was a very good DB coach last year. I think there was just a lot of stuff going on defense where there were too many cooks in the kitchen. And maybe he wasn't able to pay all of the attention to the defensive backs.
Yeah.
But they are going to be coached extremely well this year because there's a lot of eyes on them. And I like the newest position coach. And I think Phil Snow is an asset for the whole defense, but he's better on the back end.
I was really encouraged with, Mike, when Mike Schaefer came on our show Friday and talked about how John Butler had taken over a little bit. Like that was his he's the defensive coordinator. That is his defense. And I do think that his report from that really does add on to Phil Snow getting in front of the media and saying directly, hey, we work for John Butler. It is John Butler's defense. He is the defensive coordinator. He is the guy. And I do think, you talk about John Butler not, maybe not being the best defensive backs coach, but I do think there is a benefit.
And a little bit of that had to do with the man showed up July 1.
Yeah. But there is a benefit in this regard that he is more familiar with those defensive backs, that he knows that he's been able to make those relationships with them, especially when you're still running the 3-3-5. I mean, the majority of guys that you have out on the field, and I know looks can get different, but the base of it, right? You have 5 defensive backs. Like you need communication, you need understanding, you need those guys to be in rhythm. You need to almost have them know exactly what you're calling from the sideline before you even call it, so then they can communicate it to the rest of the defense from top down, right? So I think that is a really big advantage, though, of having, Butler already in that room, already having relationships with those guys. One name that I do want to hear.
No, you got to stop. Bigelow is pissed.
Why is Bigalow mad?
Because we're talking about football.
He's on his way down here.
Did he just text us?
He's not very happy at all.
He's too angry to text.
You got 10 seconds here.
Sua left to.
Jacob, bring breakfast.
We hear all about the other, young defensive linemen need to step up. I want to hear about Sua left to. I want to see if he's taking those steps.
You okay with that, Jacob?
I want to hear about him.
Was Jacob fine there?
I don't know. He'll text me.
You need to have him over for the crown tonight. I think he needs some friendship.
He would. Yeah, maybe he should come over. He would come over. It'd be fun.
Make him a hot pocket or two.
We'll watch it together. Mac and Big's finale. Watching the crown together.
Shoulder to crown.
Wouldn't that get in the way of your other roommate? He'd be a little put off.
No, he likes Bigalow. They haven't met, but he likes Bigalow from like the interviews and stuff. Dan is a loyal listener to this program.
All right.
Morning,
Dan. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Dan.
All right, Bigalow,
come downstairs.
Bigalow says the last 8 minutes was the most football talk that should ever be on March 31st. How come you guys are not talking about the secession plan from Coach K to John Shire?
It's been a great secession plan.
Okay.
The White Mike has done an incredible job, not only recruiting talent, but empowering that talent, especially on the offensive
line. Natural leader.
I'll see you, Duke, and I'll tell you about Nebraska.
What secession plan?
Osborne to Solich.
That went so well.
We're coming back to wrap it up after this. All right, one of the things of yesterday, while all the basketball was going on, is the NFL meetings are going on in Palm Beach.
Fun.
Maybe 18 game schedule.
Maybe the tush push band.
That's what it sounds like. Sounds like we are headed that way.
You're going to get the ball automatically in midfield?
I read that yesterday, that the Packers were getting some more people on board. Yeah, a bunch of wusses. Just trying to ban a play that literally nothing is stopping you from running it. But yeah, we're just going to ban it because one team actually does it super effectively, and we can't find a way to, to stop it.
But the best part of the meetings, the owners' meetings, is the yearly coach photo.
Oh, yeah. Has that come out yet?
It came out yesterday. Raheem Morris was not there. Apparently he had some weather issues, so he couldn't make it to Florida. So the Atlanta Falcon head coach is not in the photo.
Okay.
But here's my breakdown. One, if you win the Super Bowl, you can wear shorts.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni is sitting next to Andy Reid, and Andy Reid's got his Hawaiian shirt on, but Nick Sirianni is wearing shorts.
No problem.
They put the best coaches right in the middle. They also did something very interesting. They put Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh next to each other. And then on the other side was John Harbaugh.
Podcast?
But Jim Harbaugh is not wearing khakis. Now, as you look at this...
Is he okay?
I don't know.
Is he fine?
I feel like... Showed up to the owners' meetings not wearing khakis for the picture.
For Jimmy, that's kind of a blink twice if you're fine, if you're not wearing khakis.
Can be warm in that heat.
Now, I will say this. I am not happy that this is not outside because I always thought that the weird glare coming from the sun or just like the dimness of the picture, because they don't know how to do proper lighting when they take outdoor photos, at least whoever was taking it, always is awesome. But, they it looks like they did it on a stage with like a backdrop behind it. I'll tell you something right now. Dan Campbell looks damn good.
Dan Campbell is a unit. I think Dan Campbell in a like Vrabel, because Vrabel might have some CTE and you just Dan Campbell in a Royal Rumble of coaches.
Oh,
he would hold his own. Like he's a unit.
He is a unit.
And he's standing next to Tomlin. There's a lot of these coaches. There's a couple that you don't recognize because either they just got hired, like Liam Cohen. I'm pretty sure that
Liam Cohen looks like he's on a golf trip.
The only thing that gives it away maybe is that he's standing next to Todd Bowles. So he just worked for him. But there are coaches that have always worn a hat.
Yeah,
like
good point.
That are not wearing their hat. Like I don't know how many people know that Sean McDermott is bald because he's always wearing a hat.
Good point.
I thought the hat
but I
was
think
permanently
his face,
part of his
like
head.
Tomlin. Tomlin is always wearing a hat.
Tomlin looks like he's about to go to the Crunch Fitness and have a workout.
Is that a smirk or a smile on Tomlin's face?
I just think I don't want to be here, and
it's
why
like
am
Joe
I in the
Gibbs
middle
without
of this
the art
picture?
hat.
Kyle Shanahan is the best looking one in the entirety of this picture. I mean, he looks like a disgruntled dad at a recital he doesn't want to be at. He's got
I should research that.
Just a little too tight-fitting polo with a very like meh beard and just a slouch.
Mike McDaniel dresses like Mike McDaniel.
Yeah,
he's got rolled up pants.
Looks nice.
He's wearing like some coat that he's got buttoned up. He's sitting next to McVay.
Is LaFleur too good looking to win a Super Bowl?
That's a poll question. We already have one.
I feel like you have to be a little bit of a slob to like win the Super Bowl. Like Sirianni, to a certain extent, looks like he just rolled out of bed.
Are you saying that Andy Reid is a slob?
I mean, he's just a bigger dude.
Andy
I
Reid
just
looks
feel like
not all big dudes are slobs.
I'm not calling him a slob. I'm not calling him slob.
Andy actually looks like he's lost some weight.
He does look like
Liam Cohen looks like an assistant T-ball coach, like a dad.
Matt LaFleur just looks like he's in too good of a shape to be a football coach. Like you should not have that amount of time to like work out and tone yourself and look that good if you're a football coach. Like you need to be sleeping in the damn office. He looks like he's just been on the TB12 method for way too long.
There's also, remember this picture was really made famous by the New Heights podcast when they had Travis Kelce go through and try and name the coaches. And there were probably 3 or 4 that he had no idea who they were. Brian Callahan is one of those guys. So he has a very nervous look, like I don't know who he's going to select.
Is he the one next to Cohen? The one next to Cohen?
He is next to Kyle Shanahan. And then Dan Quinn is on the end. And then a good-looking guy, hey, I can say it out loud, Kevin Stefanski's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, he's got that foxy beard, the gray fox beard.
Looks like a nice house in Miami.
Right above Shanahan, though, I missed him. A hunk of burning fudge is Dave Canales, the Carolina Panthers coach.
Oh, I thought that was Jimmy G.
Now, he would be the guy that most people would have no idea out of any team-issued gear that you'd go, I don't know who that is.
There is one coach.
Do you know where your coach is?
Yeah, all the way far left, second to the left. It looks great.
I didn't look for mine.
He has to stand next to Dable.
He looks tall. Benny looks tall in that picture. Like, you ever see a guy like sitting down, you're like, you know that if he stands up, he probably is like a tall drink of water. That's what he looks like. I don't know the guy that's to the, I guess, our left to their right of Liam Cohen. He's the third one. If you begin, the third person. Who is that guy?
And then Brian Schottenheimer.
Oh, that's the Cowboys coach.
Yeah. Screwed. I need a new team.
I have no idea who that guy is.
Now, there's a couple of guys that you're like, okay. You never see D'Amico Ryans without a hat on.
No, you don't. Like, I saw D'Amico and I was caught off guard for a second.
Kevin O'Connell looks good.
KOC looks fine. He looks fine. I really am impressed with both Harbaughs. Both Harbaughs look like they're in very good shape.
Yeah,
also,
but you
can tell that their mother dressed them.
They have the Pete Carroll and John Harbaugh have the awkward, what do we do with our hands when we're sitting down
Yes.
picture. Yes. All right. That'll do it for a Monday show. Enjoy the Crown tonight.
Yes,
7:30.
I will.
Nebraska and Arizona State.
Matt, please go get Jacob and take him with you. Take him to watch basketball with you.
We're not going anywhere. You think I'm going to travel
Bring
to watch
him over.
the Crown? I didn't even travel to watch the NCAA
Send
tournament.
an Uber for him.
I'm not traveling to watch the Crown. You kidding me?
All right. We'll be back in tomorrow at 6. We'll talk about what happened tonight in Vegas. And the Final Four for both the men and women will be set after tonight as well. Enjoy your Monday. Crossover is coming up next.